go online. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year.
Welcome to the City of Hialeah Planning and Zoning Board meeting for January 10th, 2024. Wow. Everyone, please rise for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity given us here tonight. We thank you for the wonderful last year that we all enjoyed. Some minor hiccups here and there, but overall it was a good year. We ask that you please watch over us, enlighten us in the decisions that we're about to make, and watch over us over the year. Allow us to have a prosperous new year. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. This ready?
No, yeah, I'll do it. Meeting guidelines. The following guidelines apply to today's Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard. All lobbyists must register with the Planning and Zoning Board prior to item being heard. A maximum of 4 speakers in favor and 4 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the Planning and Zoning Board on any item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Roll call. Mr. Perez?
Here.
Mr. Ramon?
Here.
Mr. Iglesias?
Here.
Mr. Jimenez is absent. Mr. Ulloa?
Here.
Mr. Santiesteban? Mrs. Enriquez? Here. We have a quorum. PC1, presentation by the Planning and Zoning Department of an overview of the multifamily residential developments in Hialeah Heights.
Are you gonna do it? The presentation or Deborah? Deborah.
What I'm going to do is not one is the annexation area of Hialeah Heights. And there are 3 developments that are in Hialeah Heights. I want to give an overview for, I want to give an overview for the new Planning and Zoning Board members. But before that, I want to introduce to you your item will come next. Okay. So we'll call you. Your land use 1 and this is PC1. Okay. So I want to introduce you to our new Planning and Zoning member. I want to welcome him, Eduardo Santiesteban. And also want to introduce to you Claudia Hasburn, that is our principal planner. So in some items, she will be the one reading the reports because we work together in preparing the staff reports. And if I'm not here, she's the one that will be sitting here. So I want to go through Hialeah Heights. So you understand this is an area of the city that is in the northwest. I took some people that work in the city and have never been there. So I realized that many are not familiar with the area. So I want to give a background of the area and explain certain things. So this is the area that we annexed in 2003. The area, as you see, was vacant. There were some truck parking and informal businesses happening there, some agriculture. So when we got that area, go to the next slide, we created like a conceptual master plan. So this master plan shows 97th Avenue, that is the one that divides what you see in orange and what you see in purple.
What you see in orange, that is east of 97th Avenue, that was all designated low to medium residential. And we wanted to create 4 neighborhoods where you had different typologies. And well, now you have there the Aragon, Bellagio, and the Aquavela development. Everything west of that area, the idea was to have 2 nodes of mixed use, one in the south that is already now a shopping center, and then one in the north that didn't happen yet. Go to the next one. This is a conceptual master plan that was created by one of the major developers at that time. That is Flagler, was Codina before. When we had to go before the Miami-Dade County, because that quadrant, the Northwest quadrant, was outside the UDB. So this was going to be industrial, and the main reason for annexing what is known as Hialeah Heights was because many of the industrial areas in the main part of the city are outdated, and we can see that every day because these are small warehouses. Many of them don't have dock height, and then some of the trucks don't even fit on the street. So the idea was to create a new industrial complex for the new businesses coming to the city. Now we have there many prominent businesses. We have Home Depot, we have Boeing, and to name some of the national firms that are there. We also know for the cases that came here before the city that there are many small warehouses or small warehouses condominium that are going to be redeveloped as multifamily mixed use. So some of the tenants there complained before this board that they were going to be displaced. So luckily we have all this area that still have space where we can have more industrial developments. So go to the next one. So this is another thing and related to this, that is the neighborhood business district. You have many applications that come here to apply for projects that are in the areas designated as neighborhood business district. And you have others that come and apply, and you have the possibility to come and apply for a special use permit to expand the neighborhood business district. The neighborhood business district was created in 2006. This booklet here is the one that I used when I made a presentation for the time when we enacted this. These are the areas, the 4 areas that you can see here, the 5 areas were the areas that we decided that, or after analyzing, were corridors that were intense. They were activity nodes, and you know that there are activity nodes. We have there, where you have the areas, you have the traffic counts. So there you see that the neighborhood area 1, that is along Palm Avenue, have a traffic count with that is within 16,000 and 10,000 trips per day, and then the same with area 2, area 3, area 4, and area 5. So this was targeted for the redevelopment of these areas of the city. For example, 16th Avenue, where we had the trailer parks and we wanted redevelopment. Now we have Pura Vida. And then we had other activity node areas that came and applied for the SUP. But this was thought for the old part of the city, not for any other place. So go to the next one. This is an axonometric that shows all the development that is already in the annexation area. You have different colors illustrating the different things that are happening. And also on top, you have the different typologies and you have the height of the typologies. So you can see there the single family homes that have between 1 and 2 floors. And then you have the different number of multifamily projects that there are 2 that are located within that area east of 97th Avenue. And then like around 2014, I believe, I'm not sure about the date, we created another area where you can have multifamily that would help support the mixed use that is there at the corner of 138 and 97th Avenue. We have existing 559 multifamily units. We have 858 multifamily units under construction, and we have proposed 799 units. So this is a total of 2,216 multifamily units. So there's no like an urgent need for units for the people that work there to be able to live in apartments. The apartments are there. There are different typologies, so there's not an urgent need to have more multifamily units. So that is the background that I wanted to give you. You have a copy of this, so you can refer to this when we will see today 3 projects that are in this area. So you will be able to compare what they are proposing and what is existing there, the typologies that are there, and the number of floors that are already there. So with that, this concludes the presentation, and we go to the land use number 1.
Administration of all to all applicants and anyone who will be speaking before the board on any item.
Anyone and everyone that is going to speak in front of the board, please stand, raise your right hand, and that includes, do we have anybody on Zoom? Yeah. Yeah, that includes all of those on Zoom, please.
Do you swear or affirm the truth before this board? Let
¿Jura
the-
o afirma que va a decir la verdad? Solamente la verdad? Yes, thank you. Let the record show it was an affirmative. I don't.
And
see-
another thing that I want to say is that everyone that will be speaking before the board for an application or representing an application, they need to fill a lobbyist form. Many of you have been here around. They have a lobbyist forms. The ones that are in Zoom and want to speak, I hope that they already sent the lobbyist form. If not, they won't be able to talk for it. They can do comments as residents, but they cannot represent someone on an item if they are not registered as lobbyists with the city.
Okay.
So
Summary minutes or a copy of the audio file of the proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the City Council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the City Council at a scheduled meeting of Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. LU 1. Small scale map amendment from industrial to mixed use. Properties located at 3605 West 108th Street, Hialeah zoned, VDH, Business Development District. Applicant Manny Rails.
Name and address, please.
Good evening, Manny Rose, architect with offices at 18501 Pines Boulevard, Suite 342, Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Thank you, sir.
I want to wish everybody a happy new year. We had our late night last night here, but it is what it is.
Okay, let's read it into the record first.
let me read the recommendation. So the properties in this application are vacant land located at the northwest corner of West 36th Avenue, also known as Northwest 97th Avenue, and West 108th Street. The lots are approximately 1.84 acres and are part of the annexation area. The current land use is industrial, and the lots are surrounded by industrial in the north and west, open space on the south. Even though the current land use designation of the park is industrial, it's a park owned by the city, and residential land uses on the east. The lots are facing and have direct access to Northwest 97th Avenue and to the north end of Hialeah Trail Park. The application proposes to create mixed-use development with retail and commercial at the ground level and residential uses above, contributing to housing typology diversity and providing for a commercial area at walking distance of the residential developments to the east and the park to the south. The amendment concurrency determination considers public facilities availability, such as water and sewer, solid waste, drainage, park, roads, and school. Water and sewers, parks, and roads comply with the adopted level of service, and the school concurrency determination is pending Miami-Dade County Public Schools response. Background. The original track 8, called Eruditional, started its planning process around 2015 and was abandoned by its original owner, causing a burden to the existing school on the west part of said track that had to restart the process and replat its parcel. As for the subject site, It is in the final plat process that started in 2021, but is pending the submittal of an opinion of title for review by the city surveyor. Since said plat completion is in charge of the original owner who abandoned the first platting process and has presence of doing so in other city properties, the approval of the land use amendment and rezoning of the subject property shall be conditioned to the approval of the plat within 3 months of the approval of this land use application and shall be proffered in a declaration of restrictive covenants. Staff analysis recognizes that the properties are suitable to support mixed uses and encourages the proposed commercial component since the closest commercial area providing services to the current and future residential areas is approximately 1 mile away to the south. The diversification of the housing types and uses support the city's goals to integrate urban design principles within this district. The request is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. The recommendation is that the land use amendment shall be approved with conditions considering the above analysis. This will be heard today only for the land use because the traffic study is in the process. Our consultant today approved the methodology, so they won't be able to advance to the rezoning part of the application because until the traffic study is complete. So the recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Manny?
Yes, good evening again. Manny Ruz Architect. Basically, we have a project which we call Jolis Park, consisting of a 5-story apartment complex with mixed use. As architects, our design concepts are based on blending residential units in the upper floors with ground floor commercial spaces, creating a dynamic urban atmosphere in the neighborhood. We are trying to, and we will accomplish one of the first projects along 97th Avenue to generate a planner's dream of basically having a crosswalk from the neighbors across the street, especially on the east side. That's one of our main goals with this project. Also, we've focused on the corner designs to create an entrance to the complex that will be pleasant, creates pleasant conditions for the project, and also ensures different kinds of uses that will blend with the project. The parking is there. The commercial portion, which is in the front, has parking on the second level, which is going to be used by the apartments, and then the commercial will use the parking underneath the buildings to not generate traffic conflicts of going up and down in the ramps. Why do we consider building complex that can be positive impact to the community? It has an aesthetic enhancement to the neighborhood. Appealing building contributes an overall aesthetics to the community. And again, I enforce the idea of having the pedestrian cross over to the west side and use our complex. Functional integration design ensures the building seamlessly integrates into the community, serving its intended purpose without disrupting the existing flow. Economic boost, meaning that we have about 22,000 square feet of commercial that will enhance either the parties that live in the apartments themselves or across the street to use this as a business venture. Also, the design encourages the communal spaces and social integration, promotes a sense of community. Public spaces provided it can become a focal point and residents connect and engage. We have basically 53 units in the back, 44 1-bedrooms, 9 2-bedrooms, and we are requesting a variance on the front setbacks from 20 to 10 feet in order to accommodate also a pedestrian flow on the east side and on the south side. And basically, that's where our presentation enhances. And we're also requesting a variance of parking from 202 parking spaces to 144, which can be easily accommodated by the differences by the valet parking and the different times of usage of the commercial versus the residential. So that's basically the project, and I am hoping that the board gives us an okay approval on it, and I think it will be one of the first projects along 97th Avenue that will basically start bringing the community into the project and try not to use the vehicles as much as we all use at the present time. So with that, I complete my presentation. If anybody has any questions, please.
Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions from the board?
There's no presentation, but I believe you all have a booklet that they are showing
Right.
the proposal, although this is only land use. And also you have this map, that is the map that I showed before online. And you have here in purple where it is located, north of the park and west of the residential neighborhood. And they are proposing 53 units, mixed use with 5 floors.
Deborah, I have a question.
Yes.
Does anybody in the board have a question, first of all?
You-
No, go ahead, please.
Given that this area doesn't really need more residential, do we have enough public safety officials to service that area at this time?
At the moment, I know by the neighbors that is deficient. There is only there a fire station that is on a trailer, is something temporary, but the city has a grant and is working on having there a new facility for a police substation, a fire substation, and also some kind of satellite city hall, not a complete city hall, but some offices where we can provide services. For example, billing would go twice a week, zoning can go once a week. You will be able to pay there your, although everything will be online in the future, but you can go, you can ask, you can pay a bill, or you have a problem with a bill, you will have someone from probably water and sewer department sitting there on certain days. So we know about this problem. And by the way, you know that we are working on the 2050 master plan. And since we know the urgency of the things that are happening there, and it's a community with young people, new people, that they're very proud of living there. We don't have many of the problems that we have in other parts of the city. So the first charrette, the first workshop for the 2050 master plan will be there on February 20. We will be there in the afternoon. We will meet in one of the clubhouses in Aragon, that is the one at the south, and all the neighbors are invited. And we said yesterday this in the council meeting, and we are going to continue advertising it. So we will get together with them and we will get all the input on the things that are needed, and that will be part of the master plan.
Do we have an idea of when the new police department and all that will be built?
No.
Will it be built before the apartments?
We don't know.
In my opinion, I think we should have more public safety before approving any more residential properties in this area, since it's.
Well, what you are
already-
approving right now is the land use. With
Correct.
the land use, they cannot do anything. So if you think it's a good fit to have their mixed use, you can approve the land use. And then when it comes to the rezoning, since now it will take a time until they do their traffic report, they can do their due diligence and come with all those responses.
Okay.
About the response time from police, from fire, and talk to the different city departments and see when everything is coming, and maybe they can plan and proffer that the completion of the project will be concurrent to these services. That can be a condition that you can impose at the rezoning phase.
You know, it's funny because almost word by word, that was gonna be my
Question.
concern, my almost word by word.
It's a new area, so.
Right. I had the opportunity to do a long overdue drive-by. Long overdue, and I admit it's been a bit. And that place is rocking.
Well, did you read the newspaper on Sunday? One of the first industrial areas, 9 buildings were sold from the company that owns it now, the original one, Codina, to someone else for 174 million. So that's
No, that
Yeah.
place is amazing. It's amazing. I was, like I said, long overdue visit, and I do plan on, frequenting it a little bit more. I'm guilty of not stopping by there. I was shocked to see the growth, to see the, what those buildings, those industrial buildings are fabulous. I did see the parcel in the corner.
You saw the school probably.
Right, yes, I saw the school. I also noticed the fire station, the so-called fire station, little portable unit with one fire truck. And doing a little bit of research, talking to people around, and I believe they only have like 2 firefighters or 3 firefighters,
Yeah.
3 emergency.
I cannot tell you, I don't know exactly, but it's a small operation.
So so we are at a deficiency there for emergency services. So I agree with you on that. We do need to look at that. I also dug a little bit deeper, and I was informed by someone that can, like yourself, that can tell me what the deal is, that there is in fact monies
Yeah, and
slated for that.
another thing that next week, there is a groundbreaking for a police antenna that will be installed there in that area.
So the future
And
does.
that is funded, the money is there.
Right,
no?
so, right. So this individual that I spoke with this, is very well informed, did bring me up to speed that there is in fact the money in the paperwork, in the pipeline. Like everything else, it does take a little bit of time to trickle down to us, but it is already in place. How long will it be here? We don't know.
I think it will be soon because there is some grant money that I heard that we have to spend within a certain amount of time. And what we are waiting right now, because one of the possible locations is within the parks that are there. So we're waiting to meet with one of the principal developers, because if you don't know, that was a landfill before. So the area where the park is has a certain elevation and has like a geotextile mesh to protect. So we wanted to hear from him what this will imply with the construction and the cost that can involve. So we want to have first that conversation with them before engaging into the plans and what we're going to build there.
If I may,
Sure.
last night I had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Diaz, which is the fire marshal.
Okay.
And I asked him, hey, what's going on over there as far as the fire department is concerned? And he's telling me that very close to either building a fire station where the trailer is or purchasing a land. And they do have a timeline as to when they have to do it because of the funds that Deborah was talking about. So I would foresee that within the next 12 to 24 months, something's got to be done immediately.
Okay.
So
A little bit more information than what was given to me. But, as far as the time frame is concerned, but the fact does concur that the money it's already in the works. And like I said, it takes time. I have one question for you, Deborah. This is a land use, so, and it comes with a favorable recommendation. As far as the zoning and the rest of the paperwork to actually get approval or denial on the building, that comes in the future, at a future meeting.
That comes in the future because they are pending the traffic analysis.
Okay. So,
that would be the zoning part, the rezoning.
The
part, right?
rezoning portion, yes.
so,
So
go
to
ahead.
the chair, so there's a traffic study, obviously.
There is a traffic study in the works. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
'cause,
not ready.
One of the concerns in the
It's-
area is the traffic. Especially with the school that's around the corner, the line for the pickup line for that school wraps around the corner. I concur with the emergency. The area doesn't have a rescue. It does have a Quint, which actually does service the residents or the workers who are in the area to stabilize them, but then the residents in the area have to wait for a rescue to come. So yeah, they'll stabilize them and then they'll take them out. My concern is the safety of the residents. Before something comes in, we need that service. It's been, how many years already the annex has been?
Since 2003,
2003.
21 years.
And it's been in the news lately from the bridge to the station, the safety, and it's one of the main concern in the area from all the residents there. And I would like to see actually a station or a rescue, as simple as a rescue, to be in the area before these properties come to the area. But I know it's for the land.
You mean concurrently,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
at the same
yeah,
time?
yeah.
Manny, I'm sorry, are you,
No.
Manny, do you have, let's just throw caution to the wind here. Let's assume that, in the next couple of meetings or so, when you come up, or maybe, in the next couple of months, when you come up with a traffic study and all of that, let's assume that it gets approved through us and approved through the council. Do you foresee a timeline for
Because the
building?
beginning of
Again,
construction-
assuming that everything, moves favorable.
Well, I'm assuming that within a few months after the zoning resolution has been approved, they will go in for permitting. We're probably going to start construction documents on this very soon for the project. It will happen, I shouldn't say rapidly, but in the right sequence of time. I can't tell you it's going to start in a year. I can't tell you it's going to start in 6 months, but I know for a fact that we will probably, by the summertime, we'll have our construction documents done for permitting. Whether the developer decides to present for permitting or not, that's not our call. But if there are other conditions set prior to blah, 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 then that's something that they're going to have to abide by. I have no say so on that.
I would like to see some, like you said, some kind of concurrence with, not necessarily the same day or the same week, but within a reasonable time frame of cutting, the ribbon cutting on the building to having, emergency services and public services and stuff either finished or in the process of being built. As close to the time frame as
I
possible.
think it would be ideal if the board decides to bring in the fire department, Mr. Diaz, the fire marshal and the other gentleman from the police department and get some definite answers from them as to the concerns of the young lady and the gentleman here, hear from them. But we as the architects, we're ready to rock and roll on this. I think it's going to be an awesome project. It's going to be one of the first projects in the area that is wanting to bring the people from their homes and walk to the project, which is our main goal. As Deborah knows, we've discussed this a million times. It is what it is, and we're trying to do something special to the area, and I think we have accomplished that.
Well, as you heard from the planning director, she is giving you a favorable recommendation with some minor conditions.
Well, with
Okay.
the condition to finish the plat.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
is one of the conditions. And yes, they are changing to mixed use, which is consistent with,
Right.
with the master plan of the area, that you don't want across the street from the residential properties, you don't want to have industrial properties. You want to have some of the uses that are allowed, and mixed use is.
To have a
ideal,
buffer
especially,
between-
yeah.
Our
It's
goal
the
is,
buffer, it provides services. to the
Right.
our
residents.
goal is, it depends on the developer, but if we establish a couple of nice restaurants here to ambience the center area to bring people across the street rather than drive 20 minutes to a restaurant, walk across the street. Plus other amenities that will be included within the commercial area. They don't have to drive all the way down to 138th to go to Publix. They can get some, it's an infinite number of avenues that do not exist of course, on 97th Avenue yet. Yeah,
The traffic out there is
is.
is hairy, to say the least. Land use amendment, I'm good with it. Do we have any more questions on this side? John, that's right up your alley over there.
No, you've answered pretty much my questions too, about the same thing, and you answered about the traffic, so.
So,
Yeah, pretty much safety, like I said, it's
Yeah.
that's a concern there. Like a police officer, more police officer presence, for example, there's probably one and two police officers per shift there. Where they're sharing one with another sector and there's literally one for that sector. So we would like to see some improvement in what services. Because it keeps growing, and as you grow, you need the services, and you can't maintain how much strain is it gonna take. Keep on adding on those officers, which, by the way, they're doing a great job. Their numbers are low, the firefighter with what they have, but we do need the service, pretty much.
I
You know,
agree with
it's
you
something that we have
100%.
to look, and I would like to see that traffic study. Cause the school. The wrapping around, how's that gonna look? Every day, you're trying to, cross, is there gonna be like arguments with people, like, oh, the school plus the actual restaurant, yeah. Do people want the restaurant? Of course. But is there gonna be a conflict?
I know that you personally have some very deep pockets, and there's a couple of individuals in the audience that have very deep pockets. Hey, why not contributing a little sum for the for the speeding up the construction? But I'm just.
Well, don't worry, they pay their impact fees.
I'm
Oh,
just,
Wait until.
well,
they
that's what
get
I'm
their-
saying. I'm just,
Their derm and whatever.
Right.
impact fees.
but, okay, comments or questions from the board? Anyone in the audience have a comment or question? Anyone in the electronic audience? No? Closest part of the public hearing, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
With the
What
conditions?
condition? What condition, I'm sorry.
Okay, motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Ramon. Mr. Ulloa.
Yeah.
Mr. Santisteban,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez.
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
item has been approved with conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is the only item that was available, that was scheduled for land use, so that would close the land use part of the meeting. Now we're going to the regular planning and zoning meeting. And Manny, do you need these? Do you need these back or? Do you need these back? Okay.
Item number 1. Approval of Planning and Zoning Board Summary Agenda of December 13th, 2023, as submitted.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Ulloa. Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Santisteban,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez.
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Item has been approved. A written decision and resolution will be prepared and presented for review to the city council. The city council is authorized to affirm with conditions, or override the decisions by resolution. After the resolution is adopted, contact a member of the city clerk's office to obtain a copy of the final decision and resolution. Upon your receipt of the final decision and resolution, contact the building department to obtain your required building permit. Summary minutes or a copy of the audio files of proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the city council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the city council at a scheduled meeting of Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. Item number 2, final decision to allow east side setback of 5 feet where 7 feet are required. Properties located at 720 East 13th Street, Hialeah zoned R1, one family district. Applicant Angel G. Gomez.
Mr. Gomez? Name and address, please. Nombre y dirección.
Ángel Gómez, 720 East 13 Street.
Ella va a leerle la recomendación en inglés, después se la lee en español y vamos a discutir su
En
aplicación.
español es más fácil.
Bueno, tiene que
Bueno,
ser-
para los récords la tengo que leer en inglés y después se la traduzco.
No oigo muy
Para los récords la tengo que leer en inglés y después se la traduzco en español.
Ok.
The property in this application is located on the south side of East 13th Street between East 7th and 8th Avenue. The lot is improved with a 3,194 square feet residence built between the 1950s and the 1970s. The east side of the house has a 3-foot roof overhang with masonry partitions perpendicular to the house east walls, where the space between the partitions is open. Those partitions are encroaching into the side setback, reducing it to 5 feet where 7 feet are required. The purpose of the partitions is to screen and divide the space that is currently used for the pool pump and for storage of pool and garden implements. The applicant is before the city requesting an adjustment of the side setback to allow 5 feet where 7 feet are required for the legalization of the above mentioned partitions. The request can be approved as submitted. Recommendation approval. Ahora se lo traduzco. La propiedad en esta aplicación está ubicada en el lado sur de la calle 13 del Este, entre las avenidas Séptima y Octava del Este. El lote está mejorado con una residencia de 3.184 pies cuadrados, construida entre 1950 y 1970. El lado este de la casa tiene un alero en el techo de 3 pies, con particiones hechas en concreto perpendiculares a la pared este de la casa, donde el espacio entre las particiones es abierto. Estas particiones están invadiendo el retiro obligatorio, reduciéndolo a 5 pies, donde 7 pies son requeridos. El propósito de estas particiones es para esconder y dividir el espacio que actualmente está usado para la bomba de la piscina y para guardar equipamiento de la piscina y del jardín. El aplicante está ante la ciudad solicitando un ajuste del retiro lateral a 5 pies, donde 7 pies son requeridos para la legalización de estas particiones. La solicitud puede ser aprobada como fue sometida. Y los felicitamos porque fue un inspector a ver la casa, sacó fotos y la casa está impecable y realmente el uso es eso, está perfecto.
Él habló conmigo.
Sí. Se vino encantado después de ver su casa.
Gracias. ¿Entendió lo
Sí,
que le
sí,
dio la
sí.
directora?
¿Cómo?
¿Usted tiene alguna pregunta,
No,
algún
eso es
comentario?
exactamente lo que ella dijo.
All right, so he understands the
Solamente
recommendation.
quiero añadir que también eso hace que no se vea de la calle lo que tengo ahí.
Okay.
La química, la piscina, la bomba.
Que no se vea de la calle.
Claro.
He also likes to add the fact that the pool and all the stuff that he has there, they're not visible.
Sorry. When we saw the plans, we didn't know the purpose of the partitions and we said, well, maybe he wants to do an end. We really didn't understand. So that's why we sent an inspector and we were greatly surprised to see that it was a nice improvement. Digo que antes, cuando vimos los planos, no entendíamos bien para qué eran las particiones y nos preocupó, por eso es que mandamos al inspector, pero la sorpresa fue grata de ver que todo estaba, pero impecable.
Y eso no ocurre todos los días. No. Gracias.
Okay.
Questions from the board? Anyone in the audience, comment or question? Anyone in the electronic audience? Closes the public hearing. What's the
Motion
pleasure?
to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Ramon, second by Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. Santiesteban,
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Rio,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Okay. When does he have to come back?
And he will have to come back February 13th.
Okay, se le ha aprobado su petición. Necesita regresar al consejo el 13 de febrero.
Ok.
Okay?
Muchas gracias.
Okay. Bien.
Buenas noches.
The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the City Council at a scheduled meeting of Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. Item number three, rezoning property from R3 Multiple Family District to R34 Multiple Family District. A variance permit to allow a front setback of 4.33 feet or 25 feet are required. Allow 0.33 foot south side setback where 10 feet are required. Allow rear setback of 9 feet where 20 feet are required, and allow 22% pervious area where 30% is the minimum required. Properties are located at 1050 Southeast 9th Court and 1070 Southeast Ninth Ward, Hialeah zoned R3, multiple family district, applicant Cesar Mastre Esquire.
Thank you.
Good evening, happy new year. Cesar Mastre, offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida.
The properties in this application are located at 1050 and 1070 Southeast Ninth Court. There are two platted lots of 7,102.5 square feet each for a total of 0.326 acres. The lots are located south of the city's Southeast Park and are facing TOD land use lots. The south and west sides of the properties are adjacent to multiple family districts. The applicant is requesting rezoning from R3 to R34 to be able to develop the site with a density of 28 units per acre. The maximum, there's something wrong here. The proposal consists of 2 two-story buildings with 4 dwelling units at each building for a total of 8 dwelling units. The project will share the parking area in the interior yard. The parking is provided as per code at 16 parking spaces. The landscaping of the site is proposed to include 10 trees, all native and drought tolerant. The side adjacent to the park, the north side, and the one adjacent to a duplex, west side, shall include a 6-foot precast concrete wall separating the similar uses. The project is requesting variances relating to lot coverage, open space, parking surface area, and front, interior, and rear setbacks. These variances are internal to the site and can be approved if all the other site components are developed according to the submitted plans. The requested rezoning may be approved. However, it shall be subject to developing the property consistent with the plans signed and sealed by Oscar Gonzalez, architect, and dated August 23, 2023, including a proposed color scheme that has not been provided yet. This is an important consideration since recent development approved by City Council when built and painted significantly differed from what got approved at the public hearing. Conditions. The applicant shall provide a recorded unit of title prior to building permit because currently 2 different property owners own the properties, and provide a color scheme prior to the first reading at City Council, which shall be made part of the records. The recommendation is approval to rezone to R34 and all variances with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Storage. Mr. Mestre,
Yes,
I think yellow is out of the question.
we're thinking pink, because of Barbie and all those things that are in right now, but
Good.
we will accept the conditions as proposed. We will submit the unity of title before the permit, and we will also as soon as next week submit the color schemes. I'll call you and ask you what you prefer. I don't think that would be an issue. You've seen this property recently. The land use portion was done recently, so I'll quickly go through my slide presentation. It's 2 properties, 1070 and 1050 Southeast 9th Court. It's located just south of Southeast Park. Next one. Let's go to the next one. This is the next one. This is the properties in their present state. One is a vacant lot, the one on the right side, and the other is a small little house on the left side that's there now. As you can see in the left side, we have a 2-story building right next to us. Next slide. This is further south on the avenue. As you can see, all 2-story buildings, multifamily units. Next slide shows the warehouse that's located directly across the street to the east. The next one. So this will definitely be an improvement for the area. The next slide is north on the avenue, showing Southeast Park. Let's go to slide number 10. This shows you the block and the number of units that are there now. Ours, we're 2 lots. We're proposing 8 units. The one next to us has basically 4 units per lot, a total of 12. The corners have 8 and 8, and then the southwest corner actually has 40 units. And behind us, we have 444. As the staff told you, we are actually using 2 lots, so it's 4-4, and that's how we come up with the 8. It's going to be 2 buildings. The parking is in the middle. They're all 2-bedroom apartments, and we will be submitting the color renderings, but it's going to have if you look at slide 15, it's a very minimalistic futuristic architecture, which I know the city likes. So based on that, we would respectfully ask you for a recommendation of approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Can you go to the very first, keep going, right there. You see what I see?
The seal? Yeah, that's, I found out last night that I might be going to jail for 6 months if I don't take
Yeah.
this off. So
Anyway, thank you, Mr. Messer. Comments or questions from the board?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
These are for rent.
yes,
Is there any possibility for home ownership in the future?
we've had this discussion before and I really don't have any say in that with my clients. I really believe that the market will dictate what will happen. I remember maybe 20 years ago, everybody was selling everything. There was condo conversions on every single corner. There was no apartments left. Right now, these, as far as I know, are rentals. I can bring it up to my client, but I don't think that I can change their mind.
Yeah. Do you know what the average rent would be for those units?
Market rate. I know that it's market rate. I don't know exactly what the number is. I think last time, Member Ulloa brought up the point that he's seeing for rent signs going up around the city. And I think that's basically what the idea has been. I call it a very simple supply and demand. There has been an incredible demand. There wasn't a lot of supply. And I think the rents went up. I think that the market will dictate when there's more units, more newer units that are going to have the preference of some of the tenants. Then I think some of these older buildings in other areas of town, they're going to have to lower their rents. I know that some of my clients are already discussing that. And I know there was a recent article in the Miami Herald saying that a lot of cities in South Florida, they've seen a drop in the rent. Unfortunately, I think Hialeah was one of the ones that had not dropped that much. But it is happening because of everything that's been developed.
And I ask because that's like it's a lower income area. It's not developed yet. I know there are a lot of future plans for that area. So I was just curious to see how much it was gonna end up.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, I think Market Station, which was right down the block, had a great number of units and that kind of stopped. And I know at one point they had passed, I think it was an overlay district that allowed up to like 14 stories, if I'm not mistaken, in that area.
The TOD is 8 stories, what they.
But
allow.
wasn't there a Market Station one that was down to Okeechobee, so from Southeast 8 down?
No,
And
the-
it was
The MB, it's only.
with the gentleman that came from Chicago that was trying to
No,
redevelop that.
but that was a proposal that
Right.
he did, and well, after that proposal, we then went to analyze the area and we created the TODs. But it was always with the TODs is 125 units per acre and 8 stories.
And unfortunately, this one is just outside the TOD.
Yeah.
This one doesn't have that density for there. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
How many parkings?
16.
How about visitor parking?
And we are not asking for variance on parking, so that means that we comply with the code.
Okay, no.
There is on street parking in the area, plus this is 2 blocks or 3 blocks away from the station. I walk many times from the stations to the park, bringing people to show them the advantage of having the tri-rail there. So it's an area where maybe with 1 car, you can get along.
Okay, thank you.
And now tri-rail, is going to downtown. So that's a good thing.
Well, thank you very much.
Isn't Bright Line supposed to,
There are 2 things. Bright line.
speaking, because you
Yeah,
mentioned Tri-Rail,
No, Brightline is not a commuter
Right.
line because it's very expensive. It's
Right.
like a luxury train. But now the Tri-Rail has a new service is starting this week. So from the airport and from the Hialeah station, the transfer station, you transfer there to another train that goes to Central Station in Miami.
Mm.
That is the station where the Brightline is.
no, I mentioned Bright Line because I know that we've talked about it before, that they were thinking about having a branch heading into Hialeah, but
Well, this is better because it's an economical branch. Now you can go to downtown for $3, $4 compared to whatever they charge, that is
Right.
$20 or $30. And there, if you want to take the Bright Line to go to Orlando, well, you can do that.
thank you. Any more comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? Let's start the hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with other conditions. Second that motion.
So motion by Mr. Gamon, second by Mr. Ulloa and Mr. Iglesias. Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Santi Esteban,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions. So, item number 4 is actually the rezoning item for LU 1 and we're gonna have to table it until the traffic study is completed.
We need to table it, or you want to just do a no action?
No action.
You should postpone it.
Okay,
So
so
table.
we will
No.
postpone the item.
Yeah, motion to postpone the item indefinitely.
We need to put a definite date on it.
If you don't, it would have to be re-advertised. You have
I think we will re-advertise it when the time comes, so we will postpone it and then we will re-advertise and send them.
so then the
notices.
correct motion would be a motion to postpone.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so can we get a motion to postpone to further
Motion to
notice?
postpone.
Second.
So we have a motion from Mr. Ramon, second by Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. Santi Esteban,
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa.
Yes.
Item has been postponed.
Thank you.
Item number 5. Conditional use permit to allow a multifamily development including 239 units on property located within a quarter-mile radius of the Hialeah Heights Commercial Development District and rezoning property from MH Industrial District to RHCD Mixed Use Multifamily District. Property is located at 8875 West 40th Avenue, Hialeah zoned MH Industrial District. Applicant Cesar Mestre Esquire.
Cesar Mestre Law Office is at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Hialeah, Florida.
Thank you.
Miami Lakes, Florida.
Can you put there in the screen the axonometric, the one of the presentation? So this is the axonometric that you saw at the beginning. If you look on the, if you can show it with the arrow, the location of the project here is here. 239 units, you see the color. If you refer to what you have there on the top, is 3 stories. What is around is the industrial properties that have 1 and 2 floors, 30 feet. And then you have the Emerald Bay multifamily project that has 4 floors. And then next to that, you have the mixed use area where you have buildings with 5 floors. The property in this application is located in Hialeah Heights and fronts Northwest 102nd Avenue to the east, Rinker Lake to the north and the west, and vacant land to the south. The adjacent vacant land to the south that fronts Northwest 142nd Street on its south side currently has a transitional use as a truck parking lot. The subject property includes approximately 10 acres, has industrial land use, and is currently operated as a truck parking lot with storage. South of Northwest 142nd Street and east of Northwest 102nd Street is the mixed-use development Shops at Highland, while west of Northwest 102nd Avenue is Emerald Bay, a mixed-use development currently under construction. The site will connect to the Shops at Highland by a sidewalk along Northwest 102nd Street. The site is proposed to be developed as multifamily residential with 71 one-bedroom units, 138 two-bedroom units, and 30 three-bedroom units for a total density of 239 dwelling units and 3 floors. The allowable density is 32 dwelling units per acre, and the project is proposing 24 dwelling units per acre. The project includes 7 three-story buildings, with 4 of them laying at the center of the property in a garden-style typology. The remaining 3 buildings are facing the lake, where the building at the southeast corner of the property facing the lake, Building B, has its side facade facing south with direct view to the adjacent industrial property. The placement of the central residential building is beneficial since they are approximately 100 feet north of the south property line, which assists with the buffering of the existing industrial conditions to the south. The proposal also includes an 8-foot concrete wall along the south property line, lined with a 20-feet landscape buffer to separate the site from the adjacent dissimilar use. This proposed feature is adequate for the majority of the site, but not sufficient for the upper floors of the above-mentioned South Building B. As a result, a redesign of the South End Building B is encouraged. Parking is in compliance with code regulations, and a total of 538 parking spaces will be provided, including the required guest parking spaces. As stated by City of Hialeah, Florida Ordinance 2020-058, properties located within a quarter mile of the Hialeah Heights Commercial Development District may be developed as multifamily, subject to the approval of a conditional use permit. The purpose of the conditional use permit is to evaluate the traffic impacts of the proposed development, the vehicular and pedestrian connectivity to the commercial portion of the mixed-use district, and the compatibility with the similar uses. An east-west axis, as well as a north-south axis intersecting at the middle of the proposed central courtyard, is proposed to create internal pedestrian connections to the amenity center and pool area to the north and dog park to the east, both amenities providing views to the lake. The internal pedestrian network is also connected to the sidewalk along Northwest 102nd Avenue and is a 4-minute walk to the west end of the shops at Highland Development. This connectivity is important because it will contribute to the reduction of vehicular trips. A traffic impact study prepared by Kimley Horn and Associates has been provided with the application. The study supports the development of the property with 239 multifamily dwelling units due to the existing conditions of the street network. To be noted, during the traffic analysis review process, the initially proposed gates at the entrance of the development at Northwest 102nd Avenue were removed. Therefore, no queue analysis has been provided. It should be noted that if the project is to reinstate such feature, the project must include a revised traffic impact analysis with a queuing analysis. In light of the above considerations, the conditional use permit and rezoning to RHCD is recommended for approval, subject to substantial consistency with the proposed site plan and elevations by Stantec Architecture, Inc., dated October 11, 2023, including proposed density, buffers, color palette, walkway, sidewalk, and open spaces with no vehicular gates at the Northwest 102nd Street entrance. As required by the conditional use permit, the declaration of restrictive covenants shall accompany this application, providing for construction completion deadlines and an adherence to the submitted proposal as detailed above. Recommendation approved subject to DOR conditions.
Thank you. Mr. Mistry.
With me today is Daniel Halley, one of the principals of the company, and also Ian Reardon of Kimley Horn, our traffic engineer, who will be addressing you shortly. We have a PowerPoint presentation. This project is called Lago Vista. It's located at 8075 West 40th Avenue. Next slide. It's this little, well, not little, it's 10 acres. So it's this big piece that kind of sticks out into Rinker Lake over here. Next slide. This is another view of it. As you can see, the lake is very big. To the west is pretty much industrial. You know, Gonzalez and Sons is located over there. Next one is an aerial view showing you where it is. Go to slide number 6, please. Back in 2020, ordinance number 220 058 was passed by the council. At that time, the shops there had not been developed. It was only a plan. I'll show you the plan. And it was thought that there needed to be some synergy created for the shops that were coming there. You have the shops and you have a bunch of warehouses. They were concerned that there wasn't going to be enough people to go there. Next slide. So they passed this ordinance and they said, any property that's within a quarter mile of this proposed area, which if I remember correctly, has about 14 different slated restaurants that are coming, a theater, and a bunch of things that were going out there, but there really wasn't too much out there. To the south, I think Hialeah Gardens has residential, and then on the other side of 97th, you have some development there. One of the projects that was approved and is already under construction was Emerald Bay. I was the land use attorney that argued that, and I had taken pictures back then showing that there was nothing there. There was a proposal, but there was nothing there. Next slide. Now you have a Publix, a Burlington, Ulta, Five Below, Famous. And I just went and took some pictures so you can see that this is a substantial retail area, and it needs some help to make sure that it prospers and it doesn't not do that. So I went and took some pictures just to show you what it's like. And if I compare what's there now with what the plans that I saw that I just showed you, it seems that there's only like a first phase that's been done. There's still another phase, which is closer to 102. Slide number 12 shows you some of the industrial warehouses that are located to our west side. And then slide number 13 is an overview of the project with the 10 acres. And the ordinance specifically said, as staff put in their report, that there was two things that needed to be looked at when you were looking at your conditional use permit to allow multifamily there. One was the connectivity to the shops, because that was very important. And the other was the impact of traffic in the area to make sure it's okay. So you'll hear today from our traffic engineer what the result of that was, but I can tell you that it's not a short thing that we complied with. We had to come up with methodology. We submitted a report. The city has a traffic engineer that reviews everything. They had their comments, then our engineer had to address that. So we finally were able to overcome all that, and we are here now. On this slide, you will also see the connectivity. We have an internal track that we have, but we have the connectivity on 102, so folks can walk. And as staff said, it's about a 4-minute walk. Next slide. As Deborah told you, we're asking for a total of 239 units, which is below the density that we were allowed to have out there. It's 71 one-bedroom units, which range between 754 to 803 square feet. We have 138 two-bedroom units, which range from 772 square feet to 1,004 square feet. And we have 30 three-bedroom units that range from 1,295 square feet to 1,544 square feet. A very nice size. As said before, the density allowed there pursuant to this is 32 units an acre. And what we are asking for is 24 units per acre. Remember, the purpose of the ordinance was to provide multifamily in this exact area. It's a very small little area. The plans were created by Stantec. You can see the design. It's going to be 7 buildings, 3 stories each. There also is a provision in the ordinance that you are not allowed to ask or receive a variance for parking. So we comply with the parking 538 spaces. Next slide. The next one. Next one. Just showing you kind of what it is. It's a very nice development. It's going to provide a number of amenities for the residents. They have a clubhouse, they have a pool with sun shelves, a fire pit, casual seating area, outdoor games area, volleyball, pickle court, open air pavilion, a TV drop-down movie screen, outdoor gym, flex space, covered seating, dining pavilion, gas barbecues for the residents, a couple of pool cabana sheds, soccer flex field made of synthetic turf, and also a fenced-in canine park with synthetic turf as well. There's a community garden that has charging stations for the residents, open law area, outdoor games, cornhole, and of course, a beautiful view of the lake that is out there. So at this time, I would ask our traffic engineer, Ian Reardon of Kimberly Horn, to come up and tell you about the traffic study that was done out there.
Name and address, please.
Good evening. Ian Raridan with Kimley Horn Associates. Address is 8201 Peters Road, 33324. Again, Ian Raridan with Kimley Horn. I was the traffic engineer for this project. I want to thank Ms. Storrs for all her assistance in getting everything reviewed and working with us in order to get this traffic study approved. The original traffic study was actually submitted back in December of 2022. We went through a few rounds of comments with resubmittals in July of 2023, and then the final approval was from October of 2023. For the 239 units, there were 94 trips during the morning peak hour and another 94 trips during the afternoon peak hour. Same people going to work in the morning, coming back in the evening. Our study area was 6 intersections. We basically looked at all the intersections along 138th Street, as well as along 142nd Street to see what the operations would be like. What we found is that all of those intersections did operate at a level of service D or better, with the exception of the 138th Street at 97th Avenue intersection, which I think actually had come up a couple of projects ago, so y'all know about the intersection. But when we looked at what our project was actually distributing to the intersection, our project accounts for less than 1% of the traffic at the intersection, and we weren't deemed to be significant at that intersection. We also looked, and as mentioned, originally there was a gate at the site, but that gate was removed. So we did not look at any queuing for that, as all traffic will be able to get into the site without stopping, and there will be no chance of a queue back onto the public roadway since they're able to get directly into the site. Is there any questions about the report that I can answer?
Go ahead.
You have to.
I live in the area
Mhm.
and traffic there is pretty bad in the morning. I like the project. I'm very excited about the project. Really. And I think that concerns me. We're back to where we talked about the emergency services, everything else. And on top of it, the traffic. I try to get out of there in the mornings and it's pretty bad. You know, until they open up that bridge or something happens. I don't understand the traffic study you're doing. That 1% is gonna be a lot for us, to be honest with you. It's brutal over there right now. You'd have to experience it in the morning and drive through there. I'm not against the project. I like it. I like the size of the apartments. I'm very excited. I wish that we'd have more projects like this coming to our board than the other small quadruplexes that we keep getting here outside. But this is a beautiful project. But the traffic is a concerning part for me, and the other lack of services that we're suffering through right now in that area.
Go to the chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the traffic, does this consider like Emerald Bay? You represented Emerald Bay, you said, right? Correct, Masters?
I did, yes.
It hasn't opened yet. There's 4 buildings on the actual property with the actual Publix. One of them, I think, is currently open, the other 3 are not.
Sure.
Is this traffic study considering those future opening of those properties?
It is, and I actually was the traffic engineer for that project, so I had all the traffic for that.
Okay.
When we went through the methodology, part of the things that we did is we identified with city all the projects that were committed and already approved ahead of us. And so we have Graham property, County Line phases 2 and 3, Shops of Highland, because that wasn't open yet when we originally started doing the study, Atlas 12, which is the one across the street there, Emerald Bay, as well as the Easton Highly Industrial property. All of those, we obtained their traffic studies, took their committed projects and entered them in as background for us before we even entered our project traffic into the analysis.
And Beacon too, the building, the warehouses?
The Beacon Logistics, yeah, they were there, they were already there, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but the traffic, yeah. Yeah, I concur with the safety and, the same issue from the previous item that we had. Police, fire is, the concern in the area, accessibility.
I understand that, and based on what my clients are telling me that they're paying per unit on impact fees.
Yeah.
I believe that the impact fees on this project will be about $4 million.
Okay.
And I've seen the city grow. When I first came out here, there was no Sector 5. And everything stopped kind of at Mango Hill.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of money.
Yeah.
So these impact fees will go towards that. I know that there's money already in the works. And I know that the legislative session just started the day before yesterday. And that one of the asks, from what I understand, is money for police and fire and all that stuff, exactly for out
Yeah,
there.
impact fees is important because that's, I know that, the rumor around there too, that the impact fees were waived on, the part with Lennar and stuff like that from the past.
Right.
Well, Lennar, the city didn't have impact fees
Yeah.
until I think 2022.
Okay.
We only had parks impact fees, and the Emerald Bay project was already in the pipeline before we enacted that. So this project,
it
yes,
was-
they
it was a
would
race.
definitely pay the impact fee.
I can tell you, Emerald Bay, it was a race to try to
Yeah.
save on those impact fees for the developer.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, it's a great product.
And as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, the reason the city passed the impact fees was for fire and police, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and roadways.
And right, so that's money that's going to be coming in. It's kind of, do you put the horse before the cart or the cart before it's, you need the money to be able to provide for the safety. I know that they're working kind of on a skeleton crew right now.
Yeah.
And things are getting built, but as things get built, the taxes will come in, the impact fees will come in, and they'll be able to man whatever it is. But I don't think any of my clients would be opposed to some type of concurrency or, let's work together to see when this can get done. Obviously, everybody wants it sooner rather than later. Like I said, the legislative session just started. I know Florida has a whole bunch of money right now. And hopefully we'll be able to get some of it here to get those public safety elements in place.
Yeah, again, I like it. I like what I see. Those are my concerns, and I have to bring them up to
Yeah.
light.
And
I wish-
addressing the traffic study, I just want you to understand. This is not just us hiring a traffic engineer and him coming up with numbers out of the sky. There's a big process of the methodology with the city traffic engineer. So he tells them, look, these are the intersections that you need. These are the things that you need to do for us to have a valid traffic study. So it's not just, that Ian went out and decided which ones to include and which ones not, and let me leave this one out because it's not good for me. That's not the way it works. Like I said, it was a very complicated process. It was very time consuming. And there was a lot of going back and forth, but the city is protected by the traffic engineer that you guys hire, that we pay for.
That's why they remove the gates. If not, there would be the risk of having some queuing there, and you have a lot of truck traffic there. So we don't want that to be interrupted. That's why they're like a free flow that you can enter, go in and out of the community.
And I can tell you that they have which intersections you have to look at. And they also have tables that tell you traffic from this place, X amount will go here, X amount will go there, X amount will go turn right, X amount will go straight. So based on all of that is the report that Mr. Reardon has given you. So I understand what you're saying, because I try to stay away from that intersection on 97th and 138th. But the numbers don't lie, and the numbers are okay with our project.
Deborah, can I ask you something? Is it in the foreseeable future, a road widening project for that particular intersection?
No, I don't think so. All the roads there are new and they were done
They were-
contemplating the future capacity.
It's just a lot of congestion.
Well, the congestion is on 97th Avenue, but remember that they are, because that's the only north-south, the only way of going north-south from 170. But there is an interchange to the turnpike on 170 that is under construction. The bridge was opened this year, thanks to the mayor and Mr. Santisteban. And also 107. Slowly, the county is building it. At least now they put some concrete barriers. So at one point that will be built, and all these will will close the network and will give more way for the trucks in the industrial park to leave the area to connect to the turnpike instead of going to 97th Avenue.
Yeah.
Now the construction crews, the industrial, all the neighbors taking their kids to school, going to work, everything goes through 97th Avenue. It got a little bit better when 142 was open, because at one point there was no 142. I remember there was an accident, they couldn't get out, and there were some concrete barriers on 142, so the neighbors took them out, so they were able to go through 142, but 142 has been open for a long time. So now there are several other ways out. And I'm sure that now not everyone takes 97th Avenue. Maybe they turn on 142 and then they take 138 from there.
Through the chair. They use some of those roads now. One of the things that, we spoke about, that is important too, is to push 107. To push the actual trucks from those warehouses away from, because the safety there, it's like tiene que presionarte para salir de ahí del área, it's very dangerous, like.
Yeah, and I can tell you that even if these projects get approved, it takes a while.
No, of course.
Emerald Bay is probably the fastest project I've ever seen in my life.
No, I know, I sneezed.
And it still took, I want to say a couple of years.
Yeah.
To get it to where it is now.
And it's in
And
phase
there's
one,
another
right?
phase, yeah. There's another
it's-
phase.
It's phase one, yeah.
There's
It's
how many phases? Two, right? Two phases. Okay.
well, two, and then there is Emerald Bay West that they haven't started yet.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that bridge being built by the turnpike over there.
Yeah.
It's
It's the interchange.
it's got a little bit of time left, but
Well, it took 20, I started in the city
It
when
took 20
when we
years.
annexed here, it took 21 years. So if it's now under construction,
And I think that
you
also
have
has
to
to
be
do with
optimistic. It's on
the
the way.
mall, the big mall that's supposed to go out there.
the mall,
Yes.
what,
Is that ever gonna happen?
yeah, whatever became of that?
No, we don't know. I don't think that will happen.
But I know that was part of what why they were doing.
No,
it,
no,
so.
the interchange came about when there was the northwestern quadrant that was outside the UDV. So we had to go before the county, and we had a very thorough review about the traffic. And one of the conditions was to have there the turnpike. So the developer there, the one that was the majority owner there, pushed for that and paid for that. So it's there.
Wasn't there some talk back in time about some soccer stadium or something down in that neighborhood?
Baseball stadium.
Baseball, yeah.
Yeah, before they built the Miami Stadium. So, yeah, I even have the books that I bought to learn
Yeah.
about baseball stadiums, but it never happened.
Okay,
See, if Miami Lakes had annexed that area, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation, right?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you would have another conversation, how
Do-
to
do
get
you
in
really
and
wanna go
out
there?
of Miami
Too
Lakes.
all right, any more comments or questions?
Through the chair.
Yes, please.
Is there a condition that we can put, the project is beautiful. Where we can, build public safety at the same time as these other projects that are coming along? Is that something that we can do? That you get, Deborah, or?
I think we can add something in the DOR, but maybe what we can do before now on first reading, we can do some research, you can do some research, and we can provide like a report of the timeline on when those safety improvements are coming. So we all know, and then we can, the DOR work it to work like the end of the project, be concurrent with that.
Right. I think that's something that we're willing to discuss and see. Yeah, we're willing.
It's not something we can
don't have a- we
establish.
don't have a
now.
project out there that doesn't have fire and police protection. That's not gonna help us at all. So we'll work with you guys on that. That's fine.
Okay. Any more comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Lowell Dunn. The address is 8083 Northwest 103rd Street, Hialeah Gardens, Florida. Good evening, everybody. I've heard this is a public comment. I'm not for or against it. I've heard a lot of talk about lakes, the lake view, the lake amenity. And I think the name has, it's Alta Vista or Lago Vista? What does that mean? I apologize. I don't speak Spanish.
Lago Vista, Lake View.
Lake View. Okay. And that's where the problem comes in. Because back in 2009, and Ms. Storch, you were there when we did the development agreement with the city of Hialeah and gave Hialeah right away on both Northwest 102nd Avenue and Northwest 170th. In that, we were granted the right to fill the lake. That area of the lake is going to be filled. So this is the first I heard of it when I came here at the public hearing, but you have 10 acres, this project. We have 330 acres surrounded. That's the shallowest part of the lake. That's where we're planning to fill. So I just wanted to put the buyer or the applicant on notice that they might want to change their name because there'll be no lake there to view. And it's can be used for industrial, and that's was our intent. So I'm here to help or ask any questions or answer any questions you guys may have or the applicant might have. If I'd have known it was Caesar, I would have reached out to him prior to tonight. But
Actually, that's a good heads up.
yeah, no, I mean, the proper notice and all that, I appreciate that, but I don't want later on when we come back and say, hey, we have the right, and I have a copy of the development agreement here and the section I can leave with the clerk for you guys to look at if you need to, or if you have any questions. I just don't want to come back at a later date and say, wait a minute now, we don't want you here because we have apartments here and you're putting industrial right up next to our apartments. I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be a bad guy. I'd rather get ahead of it now, manage everybody's expectations.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the heads up. I think that for when you go to first reading, maybe you can have like the site plan, like an alternative to the site plan, and show how it will be buffered in the case that an industrial property comes there, because the property is industrial and you're asking for the special use permit. So, and even in the DOR, there should be some provision that if the surrounding lake is developed as industrial, the 8 feet concrete wall will need to be provided, the same as an adequate landscape buffer.
Understand.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
Thank you.
from Lakeview, you can change it to Warehouse View. And just,
It'll be a story. It'll be a
yeah,
little history.
something to chew on.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone in the electronic audience? Okay, this is the part of public hearing. Was a pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve with conditions.
Second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Ramon, second by Mr. Rivera. Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Ms. Enriquez,
No.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Santi Esteban.
No.
Item has been approved with conditions. Item number 6, conditional use permit to allow a K through first grade elementary school with a maximum capacity of 24 students occupying a single bay, Bay 356 Palm Avenue, in conjunction with a 62 children daycare, base 362, 368, 374, 380, and 386 Palm Avenue. And parking variance to allow 26 parking spaces, 23 on-site and 3 off-site, where 27 parking spaces are required. Property is located at 356 Palm Avenue, highly zoned CBD, Central Business District. Applicant, Cesar Mestre, Esquire, on behalf of Donoso Academy DBR LLC.
Cesar Mestre with offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida.
This item already came before you, but we had to re-advertise it because we only advertised one address. And then we realized that was not the correct address because this property has different bays with numbers, but the property has one main address and there were other things that were not very clear. It was better to re-advertise. So I will read the recommendation again. The property in this application is a commercial strip located at the southwest intersection of Palm Avenue and West 4th Street within the Hialeah Downtown Urban Center. The property is on CBD and improved with a commercial building built in the 1950s, including 7 commercial bays facing Palm Avenue and a parking lot at the rear. In the year 2000, 3 middle bays in the building were consolidated and improved as a 42 children daycare under permit 2027-97, including a playground adjacent to the rear of the building in an area previously designated as parking. Consequently, the site has 23 parking spaces to be shared by the day school and 2 other businesses. Over the years, the business expanded into the adjacent bays, 1 extra 700 square feet bay to the north and 2 extra bays to the south, without the benefit of a building permit. The expansion into the adjacent bays served to accommodate 20 more daycare students and 2 elementary school classes with a capacity for 24 students in kindergarten and first grade. The CUP was advertised, the former CUP was advertised for 54 students. That's why we are re-advertising. At this time, the applicant is before the city requesting a conditional use permit to allow a K through first grade 24 student elementary school in conjunction with a 62 children daycare and parking variance to allow 23 parking spaces where 27 are required. Since section 98-2192B allows 20% of the required on-site parking to be provided as on-street parking in areas where on-street parking is permitted, 3 parking spaces may be provided on the street. Since 23 parking spaces will be provided on site and 3 on the street, that will count as parking spaces, the parking deficit decreases to just 1 parking space. Accordingly, the variance request is to allow 26 parking spaces where 27 are required. The facility will have 10 staff members, including teachers and support employees, and there is a procedure to facilitate drop-off and pick-up at the rear of the building from where the children access the facility through one of the existing doors. Given that this is a school with a reduced student population and the parking deficit is just 1 car, the CUP and parking variance shall be approved with the condition that the 3 bays added without the benefit of a building permit get permitted and finalized within 4 months. Otherwise, the BTR for the educational component will not be issued. Recommendation with the condition that the legalization of the unpermitted improvements on Bay 356, 362, and 386 get completed within 4 months from the date of approval of the application. Approve a CUP to allow a K through first grade elementary school with a maximum capacity of 24 students occupying a single bay, Bay 356, in conjunction with a 62 children daycare on Bay 362, 368, 374, 380, and 386, and approve a parking variance to allow 26 parking spaces where 27 parking spaces are required.
Thank you.
Good evening again. You guys approved this at the last meeting. I think with a different number, the number today is actually less. So I would ask you to give a recommendation of approval, but I'd like to go through a little bit of the background for Mr. Santiesteban regarding these schools. Like this one was a daycare that opened back in 2000. You're going to see a number of these come up, especially in the next few meetings, because there's a deadline. A lot of these folks opened up these daycares years ago. Some you'll see from 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. And what happened was over the years, they kept the daycare, but as the kids got older, they added kindergarten, added first grade, et cetera, like that. Unbeknownst to the owners, they didn't know that they had to come and ask the city for a conditional use permit for the educational portion of their business. So now the city has come up with guidelines as to what needs to be in place. There's certain things that aren't going to be allowed anymore, like shopping centers. But there's going to be a flood of these coming, and basically it's to get the conditional use approval to be able to continue with these businesses. So that's what this one is. This one has a one-car deficit.
This is what I was going to explain. This is a simple one because there are many that are more complex. They want to have K through 12th grade. There's no parking. It's in a busy shopping center. So many of them are not recommended for approval, don't get approved, and they go back to what they were originally, a daycare. This is in a downtown. There's a lot of parking on the street. The city has a parking garage where they can pay and go to a parking garage. So this is one of the simple ones.
I wish they were all like this. So based on that, I would ask for a recommendation of approval.
Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with conditions.
Second that motion?
Motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Amon,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Yu,
Yeah.
Mr. Santiesteban,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions. Item number 7. Conditional use permit to allow a K through first grade elementary school with a maximum capacity of 30 students in conjunction with a 62 children daycare. Variance permit to allow 187 parking spaces where 253 parking spaces are required. Property is located at 5480 Palm Avenue, Hialeah Zone C2, Liberal Retail Commercial District. Applicant Cesar Mestre Esquire.
Good evening, Cesar Mestre with offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida. Based on the staff recommendation, we've asked respectfully to table this item. We will be working with staff to get the owner of the shopping center to come in and ask for a parking variance. And I know that staff is going to have some conditions regarding that, but that's the avenue that we're choosing to go by.
That is one of the complicated.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
do I motion?
Yeah,
Motion to table?
Second that motion?
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Iglesias.
Are you tabling to a date certain?
I'm sorry.
Are you tabling to a date certain?
I don't.
I mean, there's no certain date because the
Well,
I don't think we can because,
I think they didn't get in touch with the property owner.
right,
Yeah.
it's gonna take a bit.
Postpone.
So you'll have to postpone the item
Postpone,
and
okay.
re-advertise.
Can you change the motion from table to postpone?
Motion to postpone?
Well,
Second that motion?
Okay, so
And another possibility.
No, I know,
would
we
be
have
to-
we have a motion and a second, okay. So since there's
So
a
the-
motion and a second on the floor,
it
to
needs to be
table.
voted on.
let's go ahead and vote on that. We can vote no,
Okay.
and then motion to postpone.
Caesar, you can withdraw the item.
Yeah.
You can withdraw because we will need to advertise, so you can withdraw and then reapply because it also the application will be different because you will apply for the CUP and the owner will apply for the other one. So I think.
But I think that the application that we submitted was only for CUP. And
then we add
review,
the
right.
parking. Okay. But if you want, you can withdraw and we will re-advertise.
can I request to postpone it instead of withdrawing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so then the tabling will have to be voted on since there's a motion.
Okay, so there's a motion to table and a second. So let's go ahead and table,
Mr. Ramon?
Yes.
Well,
no.
it would-
Well, no. Now so we'll continue.
Yeah.
Let me explain. To table, you would need to table to a date certain or to table to the end of this meeting. Since we don't have a date certain and it won't be brought off the table at this meeting, you'll have to make a motion to postpone. However, there was a motion to table and a second. So since there was a motion and a second, the motion has to be voted on. If the will of this board is to actually postpone, then I would advise that you vote no on the motion to table.
Okay, so Mr. Ramon?
No.
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 Mr. Gamon already recorded his vote.
Oh, so it's yes.
So if we would have to make it clear on the record and go back to him if he wants to change his vote.
So here's what we do. We go through, we take a roll call, we get everybody's vote. Then before she closes this,
We'll make a motion to
you state that you would like to change your vote. On, from a yes to a no.
Well, if we have the votes, he can stay as yes and.
Yeah.
that's
If we could do that. It'll be a majority, so.
Okay, Mr. Iglesias?
No.
Mrs. Enrique?
No.
Mr. Santiesteban?
No.
Mr. Ulloa?
No.
Mr. Perez?
No.
Okay, so motion has been denied.
So the motion fails. So
Motion fails, so
Mr.
you
Gamon, if you'd like to change your vote, you can, but it makes no difference. Okay.
So motion to postpone. Give a second.
Do you have a second?
Second that motion?
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Enrique, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Santiesteban?
Yeah.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Ramon?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Item has been postponed.
Do you need paperwork back or
Yes, please.
can we pass the number 8?
Number 7.
No.
So Deborah, it's postponed, so it'll be the same application. It'll just be re-advertised.
So
Number 7.
item number 8. Conditional use permit to allow a vocational nail tech school with 16 stations. Property is located at 1290 West 49th Street and 1300 West 49th Street, Suite 1304, highly zoned C2 Liberal Retail Commercial District and C3 Extended Liberal Commercial District. Applicant Sandra Abreu.
Sandra Abreu?
Yeah.
Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Irma Arteaga, 815 West 48th Street, Hialeah.
And you say you are the owner? of
I'm the owner.
Yes.
And
Yes.
who is Sandra Abreu?
And
Sandra is the person that ran our applications, but she's out of town.
Okay. So the property in this application is a one-story, 100,000 square feet commercial property built in 1974 and later modified. There are currently multiple bays with 3 of them facing 49th Street. This application is to correct the already established vocational nail school facing 49th Street. The vocational use is using approximately 1,500 square feet of the commercial building. As listed above, the vocational school has a building and code enforcement violation due to the opening and operation of the vocational nail salon without proper approvals. These applications aims to correct such violation. This commercial building received a conditional use permit to operate the daycare and K through 5th grade school and multiple variances, including a parking variance to operate with 98 parking spaces according to Ordinance 2020-063. One of the requirements of the approved ordinance was to proffer the creation of restrictions, which was recorded in the Miami-Dade County Clerk of Courts on their number 2021-000-9430. in which permits the change of uses except for the self-storage and day care school. Therefore, this application does not require to modify such declaration of restrictions since all terms are still applicable and in compliance. At this time, the applicant is before the city requesting a conditional use permit to allow a vocational nail salon with 16 stations. The conditional use permit could be approved with the condition that the vocational nail salon stays with 16 stations and does not violate any of the restrictions applicable under the recorded declaration of restriction. Recommendation approved.
Thank you, Mr. George. Comments or questions?
Not if you have any. I've been there 13 years.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the audience? Okay, anyone in the electronic audience? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with condition.
Second motion?
I have a motion from Mrs. Enriquez and second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Santisteban,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions.
Thank you.
Item number 9, special use permit to allow the expansion of the neighborhood business district overlay. Variance permit to allow residential use only where mixed use is required. Allow 40% of the units with an area less than 850 square feet, where 850 square feet is the minimum area required. And only 10% of the units can have an area of 600 square feet. Allow 337 parking spaces where 459 parking spaces are required. Allow front setback of 16.83 feet, where 10 feet built to line are required. Allow street side setback of 131.25 feet, where 10 feet built to line are required respectively. Allow surface parking facing front and street side setbacks where parking is not allowed in front and street side setbacks. And variance to waive the building mass and building frontage development standards. Property is located at 11205 West 40th Avenue, Hialeah Zone, BDH Business Development District. Applicant Cesar Mestre Esquire.
Since this application has been around for a long time, and I had many conversations with the applicants and a big number of lobbyists that came and I always thought that this was out of place and my recommendation was going to be denial. I defer the research and the preparation of the report to Claudia Hasburn. So she's the one that will read the recommendation and answer any question that you have on this.
Thank you.
Oh,
I have
quickly,
notes.
one second, Caesar. I have to, Deborah, on your recommendation, you have a different applicant than the agenda. So we need to confirm who the applicant is. Is it Caesar on behalf? On the agenda, you have the applicant as Cesar Mestre?
We have it as Cesar Mestre because we were informed yesterday that Cesar Mestre was going to.
So it's on behalf.
Yeah, I think the
On behalf of-
application has the name of the owner
Yes.
of the property. All I did was file a lobbyist registration
Okay,
today.
that's
So
fine.
Thank you. Go
Cesar
ahead.
Mestre office is at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida.
Thank you, sir. Bonnie?
Mr. Chair, also, Madam Claire, can you pull up the presentation that Deborah presented earlier? So we can also make reference to that diagram. The property in this application is located at the northeast corner of West 40th Avenue and West 112th Place, Hialeah, Zone BDH at the annex area. The property is approximately 506 acres net and 6.76 acre gross. And we make that differentiation because of the right of way that is going to have to be dedicated. Because this property is surrounded by industrial property and the property is vacant lot and hardly accessible. There is currently access to the property only through West 40th Avenue since West 112th Place is not an improved right of way, and that is a difference of acreage. The applicant intent is to build an 8-story, 204-unit multifamily building for rental on market value by utilizing a tool, NBD expansion, conceived for the old part of the city. And in the diagram that you have in front of you, the project proposal that we are discussing right now, it's selected in red. And then you can see the comparison. The applicant justification for the request is the need for housing units. However, there are already 559 completed multifamily units at Atlantico, at Aquavela, and Avalon Bonterra, 244 multifamily units, almost completed at the shops of Highland, and 917 units at Emerald Bay, where 300 are almost completed. Also pending zoning approval are 2 other residential developments with 53 multifamily units on a proposed mixed-use building and 329 multifamily units next to Emerald Bay. These totals 2,102 multifamily units built or to be built at densities and height consistent with the comprehensive plan and zoning regulations. In addition, a housing study commissioned by the city dated April 2023 indicates that the city of Hialeah meets the needs for affordable and workforce housing in the city. Accordingly, facts proved that the justification for the request is erroneous. The request to expand the neighborhood business district (NBD) to this property is not consistent with the NBD, since the characteristics of activity nodes necessary to apply the regulations and incentives are currently non-existent in this area. As a background, the NBD overlay was created in 2007 with the intention of providing density and height incentives to redevelop active city corridors and commercial nodes with high vehicular traffic in the 20 square miles, all part of the city. According to the traffic study submitted, the traffic data was collected at West 108th Street and west of 97th Avenue, more than a quarter mile from the project's intersection. According to the traffic data, a typical day traffic is 2,783 vehicles per day. In contrast to the volume of the NBD nodes, which varies from 10,000 to 60,500 average daily trips, according to FDOT's website. Regarding the incentives, such as diversity of housing types, housing affordability, mixes of uses, unique architectural features, and public enhancements were to be provided to achieve such incentives. Currently, this proposal does not proffer any incentives. For example, in order to achieve the height increase, the incentives required to provide housing diversity, transit improvements, pedestrian-friendly and urban street setting. Once again, the proposal does not provide any of such qualities. In the opposite, the proposal is requesting variance permits to omit mixed uses, increase building mass, and reduce frontage to the street. In addition, the proposal is requesting a parking variance. These variances are contrary to the intent on the NBD and do not support the increased height and density request. The business development district within the annexation area is a master plan area annexed in 2003 with the intention of providing an area for an up to current industrial standards and top-rated industrial space, as you heard early in this evening by the presentation. The need was identified due to the outdated industrial space in the old part of the city. The industrial demands were not being met within the current industrial areas of the city. Furthermore, redevelopment of the outdated industrial sites is displacing many businesses housed on a small warehouse. Therefore, the best use for this site is to develop it into the allowable industrial uses to provide boutique industrial base with office space due to the narrow and elongated shape of the lot. The prevalent uses on this square mile quadrant of Hialeah Heights are industrial. The exceptions are the right-of-way TP and the school located on West 108th Street, a right-of-way designated entrance road characterized in the code as a road providing frontage for offices and compatible commercial buildings to serve and complement the residential developments west of Northwest 97th Avenue. West 108th Street is also the road fronting the north end of the Hialeah Trail Park. The proposed 90 feet building height is unprecedented in Hialeah Heights, planned for low medium density residential development. And also you can see it on the diagram in front of you, where the highest building are the ones at the mixed use development in Hialeah Shops of Highland, 1.7 miles south of the subject property with 5-story multifamily buildings. The use proposed in this property is going to be fully vehicular dependent since no other mobility options are currently available, making the parking variance a burden to future residents due to the lack of mobility options. The proposed parking count provides 1 parking space for each of the 1-bedroom units, 2 parking spaces for each of the 2 and 3-bedroom units, and only 8 accessible parking spaces are left open to be used as needed. Such parking shortage will also result in parking on swell areas of additional vehicles and guest vehicles, ultimately degrading landscaping areas and disturbing the conservation area of the south side of the West 112th Street. In addition, parking on right-of-ways will negatively affect the flow of truck traffic in an area envisioned for that particular purpose. The affordability housing issue is not being targeted within this application since the project is considered to be market rate rental project, which with unit most likely targeting between 80% to 120% of the area median income, MAI, which is between 82,000 to 124,000 income for a family of 4. In this property, if this property is to be applied the latest state regulations delineated under the SB 102 and cannot comply with the NBD incentives, the maximum density this property could achieve is 32 dwelling units per acre and a maximum height consistent with commercial or residential developments located within a mile of the subject property that is 3 stories, the height of the building at Atlantico at Aquabella. In order to use Senate Bill 102, the project has to include a percentage of affordable dwelling units with a covenant restricted for 30 years. If the special use permit is approved by decision of the City Council, it shall be contingent to the following conditions: limit the density to a maximum of 32 dwelling units per net acre, 161 units, and limit the height of the building to 3 stories, and parking to be provided according to code and according to revised density, approximately 402 parking spaces, and provide a minimum of 10% of affordable units at a MAI below 80% if not applying SB 102 incentives. Recommendation, staff recommends denial for the special use permit and denies all the variances because of the incompatibility with existing uses, the inconsistency with the comprehensive plan and zoning regulations, and the negative impact to future residents who will be surrounded by industrial uses operating 24/7. If the special use permit is approved, it is imperative that it gets approved contingent to the conditions above.
Thank you, Claudia.
Wow. I'm just going to ask you guys to please listen carefully and decide what you believe is best for the Hialeah residents. With me is Michael Osmond, one of the principals of this project. And as Deborah said, this has been going on for a while. So he wants to give you some historical background on this particular project.
Good evening, Michael Osmond, 1474 West 84th Street, Hialeah, Florida. As noted in the recommendation, they refer to a number of stated facts. And the facts about this property are very, very important. And so what I would like to do is give you all of the facts, because all of the facts were not mentioned in the analysis. So I'll do my best to give you the Reader's Digest version of the facts. About 100 years ago, this large area in Northwest Dade County was subdivided on paper by a plat filed by the name of Florida Fruitlands. That plat divided up this area and a large other area of Northwest Dade County into 10-acre tracts. Each 10-acre tract was 1,320 feet in depth and 330 feet in width. The subject property is tract 13 in this quarter section
And it is just like all of the other tracts that were platted in Florida Fruitland, just like all of them. It started out as 1,320 feet in depth and 330 feet in width. Bear in mind that until about 25 years ago, this whole area was considered to be like wilderness. Before Hialeah annexed this area, the county, when they were much less environmentally minded, allowed most of this area to be used as dump sites for construction debris. Almost all of what you see of those warehouses that Mr. Perez alluded to are constructed on dump sites. Prior to the annexation some 40 or so years ago, the owners of some of these parcels that were not used as dump sites decided to make what they thought at the time was a smart move for tax purposes. And they created a 200-foot wide conservation easement and donated that conservation easement to the county to obtain a tax deduction. This conservation easement was created by taking 100 feet of the subject property of the south side of the subject property and 100 feet from the adjacent property, its north side. So that created the 200 feet conservation easement, which when the city annexed this area, that conservation easement passed on to the city. So that conservation easement continues to exist and it will continue to exist in perpetuity. This then, by the creation of that conservation easement, reduced the width of the subject property from its original width of 330 feet down to 230 feet of width. Fast forward now to 2013. Our investment group was instrumental in putting together and selling the large area at the north end of Northwest 97th Avenue that later became approved for what was promised to be the largest mall in the United States. Once our group became privy to the eventuality of the mall, we moved to buy all of the available tracts in this area that were south of the proposed mall that were not previously used as dump sites and landfill areas. So we searched for virgin properties that were available. And fortunately for us, there were a handful of available tracts, and we bought them all in 2014. One of which is the subject property, which is tract 13, which was at the time that we purchased it, 230 feet in width. Then about 2015 or so, I got a call from then City Attorney Lorena Bravo, because Hialeah had the opportunity to have the county pay for the installation of Northwest 97th Avenue, which didn't exist at the time. If all of the street dedications could be had, then the county would pay for the installation of Northwest 97th Avenue. And obviously that's a very important consideration. So Ms. Bravo asked if we would cooperate by giving the right-of-ways of our tracts that fronted on Northwest 97th Avenue. We said, sure, we will, and we gave to the city all of the needed dedications so that the grant from Miami-Dade County could be had for 97th Avenue, and the rest is history relative to Northwest 97th Avenue. You know what exists now. A few months later, after that, Ms. Bravo contacted me again, and she asked if I could assist with the dedications for the western end of West 108th Street, which I did. And these needed dedications were also obtained. Not too long after that, Mr. Jose Sanchez from the Streets Department contacted me and informed that the city had the potential to receive a grant from the state to install what would then become West 40th Avenue. And you need to understand that there was no such thing as West 40th Avenue at that time. And there wasn't going to be a West 40th Avenue because the city didn't have the funds to construct West 40th Avenue, and they needed a grant which was potentially available. So Mr. Sanchez contacted me. He asked if we, as property owners in the area, and the property owner that fronted on what would be West 40th Avenue, if we would do two things. He asked, number one, would we be willing to give the dedication needed from our western property end of the subject property? And number two, would we write a letter explaining the importance of installing this roadway so that the city could obtain the grant from the state? We said yes to both. The grant was obtained. West 40th Avenue was installed with the grant money. And again, the rest is history. When you go out there now, you see a beautiful 4-lane with median West 40th Avenue because the city had the foresight to ask for the grant, and the grant was given. Not very long after that, I was again contacted by Ms. Bravo, explaining that the street department had now developed a street grid for this section and an east-west connector between the then Northwest 97th Avenue and Northwest 102 Avenue was going to be required by the city in order for the full build out of this section to advance. And then because of the existence of the conservation easement, the east-west connector would require that we, as the owners of Tract 13, the subject property, would need to give a right-of-way dedication to the city on our southern border of some 65 feet. That was to enable the needed east-west connector that the city now said was needed. We were hesitant at first about granting the city this right-of-way because who would pay for the street dedication and installation that would now be required, since this dedication would create a public roadway that never before existed. And in the city of Hialeah, just in case you're not aware, the property owners are required to improve any adjacent public right-of-way at the property owner's own expense. So you can imagine our reticence at saying yes to this request. I then, before I gave answer to Ms. Bravo, I contacted again Mr. Sanchez, the head of the streets department. And I asked him about this, and I asked if the city, if we gave the dedication that was being asked for, would in this situation, because it would be a new street created, if the city would pay for the installation of the roadway improvement. He said, probably not. So I asked, well, what about would the city pay for some of the ultimate cost of the improvement when the time came for such? Of course, he said he could not predict what the department might be able to do in the future, but we were told by him that they would try. We decided to again cooperate with the city, and we cooperated and gave the city the dedication that they were asking for. The result of that was this then further reduced the width of the subject property, now down to 175 feet from what it had been, which was 230 feet. We've been successful in the past 10 years, since 2014, in selling all of the tracts that we bought in this section back in 2014, except for one, the subject property. We have aggressively marketed this property because it is a very desirable location, and each and every potential buyer at first look were very interested in the property. But then when they examined the particulars of the property, every single one of them, and there have been several, every single one of them replied, no, we're not going to want to buy the property. And all of them, without exception, cited the same 3 reasons why they would not buy the property. Not that they weren't interested, not that the price was too much, but that these were the reasons that they chose to pass and not buy the property. Because number one, it is too narrow for the type of warehouse that was being built in the area. Number two, the high cost of installing the street on the south, which was required by the city, that created the new street that was now on the south side of our property. And number three, because our property had wetlands, because it wasn't filled with construction debris, and because it had wetlands, a water retention pond was required that then subsequently reduces the buildable area. So those are facts that are important, and we wanted you to know about them. And we'd ask that you would take these facts into consideration when you make your decision.
When you buy property in an undeveloped area, and many other developers did, he's not the only one, all of them dedicated land for the streets, they build the streets. So this is not something new, and it's not a hardship. When you buy in an area like that, you know that it's like that. It is true that the site is too narrow, and you cannot build distribution warehouses that are built in the area. So if you're going to try to market it and to sell it at a price comparable to the other warehouses, yes, you won't be able to sell it. But there is possibility to build there another type of warehouse, the warehousing type that we are not having in the city, and that many of them are going to be demolished for redevelopment because they're very, very old. So he presented himself as a victim of what was happened, but every developer knows that when they buy a property in an area like this that is undeveloped, they have to, and not only in this area, there are other areas in the city that properties that weren't developed for a long time, and you can see how the street has a width in some area and then is narrow on another area. So when those properties redevelop, they have to dedicate the area for the right of way. So that is something that normal, that happens all around the city.
Thank you.
If you remember what Mr. Osmond said, I don't think he ever used the word hardship. I don't think he ever used the word victim. I think he was just stating facts. And the facts are, it was originally a 10-acre tract, and now it's down to 5. Presentation, please. Slide number 2. Just a picture of aerial showing the tract of land that we're talking about. As you can see, it's very slender and long. Go to the next one. This is an aerial of the area out there in Hialeah Heights. The red marker, as you can see, is our land, and it is the 5 acres. I want you to look at the white squares, the white rectangles that are located just south of there. And that's important. Those are the state-of-the-art warehouses that have been built out there. And that's going to be important to take into consideration. The warehouses are big. Remember that our parcel is 5 acres, and a lot of these warehouses are significantly bigger than that. So they are really, really big. Hialeah ends just north of here, where the street is just north of us, and then comes north of 170th, comes unincorporated Dade. On that side over there, they are in the process of building multifamily units and other things out there, including to the American Dream Mall that we've talked about before. I told you before to keep in mind what you think is best, and you'll decide what is best for the residents of Hialeah. The next slide. This is just showing you some of the businesses that are out there. Next slide, number 5. As Deborah told us a little while ago, there is significant companies that are out there. My understanding is that there's about 10 million square feet of warehouses that are built out there. There's a Target distribution center that has 225,000 square feet. Home Depot has 1 million square foot warehouse out there. That's according to the South Florida Business Journal. There's electrical wholesale, Nearly Natural, CGI Impact Windows, Lineage Logistics, Boeing headquarters, MD Turbines. There's the autism school. So why am I telling you all this? Let's go to the next one. These are ads that were online today offering jobs in that area. I saw jobs for starting at $29, $30 an hour. All night, we've been talking about different things in this area, and we keep talking about traffic. Traffic obviously is caused when somebody has to go from A to B. And that is what we're forcing people to do when we put them all, let's have this little residential area over here, and let's have the jobs over there. And the other thing that you heard tonight was, let's create a situation where the Hialeah residents will be consumers of these shopping centers, of these mixed uses, of all these things. We're making the Hialeah residents consumers of what's close to them. This project gives something that's different. This project puts the residential area right in the middle of the industrial area. There is all of those businesses that I told you are all located within 2,500 feet of the proposed residential area. They say that one of the reasons was there's no public transportation. You don't need public transportation if you're so close to your job. If there's all these jobs that are right outside of your property, you can take a scooter, you can take a bike, you can take anything and get to that location. We shouldn't have at one point, I remember hearing we shouldn't have residential west of 97th Avenue. Go to slide 8, please. On the bottom is Emerald Bay, which is west of 87th Avenue. Just above that is the one that we talked about today, Lago Vista, which is going to have to be changed to something different. And this one is just north of that. So we need to be consistent. Go back to slide number 5, please. I mean, number 7. This is a screenshot of the land use map that Hialeah has. This is West 78th Street and West 24th Avenue. You see that everything in purple, that's industrial. And the one in the middle that's a little green, I guess, that's multifamily residential. This is something that was approved back in 2013. This is there, this is successful. So there is a precedent for this type.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
That people that live there go to those warehouses to work. You didn't show the whole map because one block from there, you have a city park and you have a school that goes from elementary to high school, all the way to high school, Mater Academy. So you're telling me that the people that we live there will only go to work. They don't need to go grocery shopping. Their kids don't go to school. They all work in the factories. They don't work in another place. So that's one point that I don't agree with you. And then another point I explained, and you also defended when you defended your other case, that the reason for that Lakeview property being there, the reasoning for that is that it was at walking distance of the shopping center there. So this is not the case. You cannot compare, come with one idea and then go and use that same idea for something that is different. So those things are unrelated. Those are there and there's a provision in the code for that. There is no provision in the code. So if you want to come with something like that, yes, this is industrial. You can go by Senate Bill 102, but be consistent with the height of the buildings that are there because there's nothing with 8 stories around.
Well,
Be consistent with the density and be consistent with the parking. None of the other projects, the one that you represented and the other one that came by Manny Rose, none of them asked for parking variances. And if the Manny Rose was going to ask for parking variances, it wasn't heard today. So they are providing exactly what is provided. Even your other application on the Southeast, they are providing the parking. Parking is a big deficit there. So it's inconsistent with a comprehensive plan, it's inconsistent with the areas, inconsistent with everything. But on top of that, you're adding another hardship, no parking. And people, even if you restrict them to have one car, they will have the second car, the third car. You heard them here yesterday. They come 1 bedroom with 1 car and then they have 3 parks and they go and park all around. Here you have truck traffic. So parking around will deteriorate the conservation area on the south, will interrupt the truck traffic. So maybe you should go and reevaluate your proposal and come back with a product that is compatible with the area with less height. And compromise to do something to connect these at least to 97th Avenue so people will be able to take a bus and provide the parking spaces that are required.
I understand that, Deborah. But with all due respect, it's kind of evident what your position is in this project. Even though you say that she was the one that wrote that the whole presentation initially was basically geared towards this. And I want to proffer to the board what I believe is the best thing for the residents of Hialeah. They can vote it up or they can vote it down.
Okay.
As you said, this project has been around for a long time.
Yes.
I've been involved for a few days.
And you know why? Because the traffic study, first of all, They didn't want to do a traffic study, so they fought for months not to provide a traffic study. And then when they were told by everyone that they needed a traffic study, they went and they hired an engineer that even consulted without about the traffic methodology. So everything it came now because the traffic study was ready 3 weeks ago. And I don't know why the engineer didn't want to deliver the traffic study. So we had to go by our consultant and ask him to give us the copies of the file. And then we had to ask the applicant to bring the USBs. It's not like a project that you brought the engineer and the engineer spoke.
I can't
We didn't
speak to
have
that. I
so-
wasn't involved.
okay,
I don't know. I
but
really don't know.
But the delay is because of that. There's no other reason.
Well, I'm not saying that it's a delay. I'm just saying that it's been around for a while
Okay,
and they want to bring this to fruition and be what it may.
okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I mean, but I would like to get my presentation done
Okay,
and then we can go
Well,
forward.
I'm just debating some of the things that you say, that you show a piece of a map, but you don't show the rest. You don't show that 1 block from here, you have a park, you have a school, you have businesses. So this situation is not comparable to the other.
But you have the opportunity to show, you did show the different maps and the different things the way you wanted to show them.
Okay.
And I can do it. I was showing the immediate area. I'm not trying to deceive the board.
Okay.
I'm just trying to show this is what it is.
Okay,
I mean,
Okay.
all I said was it's between a bunch of massive state-of-the-art warehouses. I don't think that
okay,
that's a
but-
lie.
But I had to clarify and explain to them that 1 block from there is a school, there are
And
businesses.
you have
Okay.
the opportunity to do that.
Okay.
Next slide, number 9, please. This is what the proposed project would look like. The NBD calls for mixed use. And the reason I believe for the mixed use is to provide a synergy between the residents and the businesses. And I would proffer to you and I would tell you that we have the same thing here, just in a different version. You have the residences, the building, and you have all the warehouses with all the employment around them. And no matter how much you don't like this project, I don't think you can deny the fact that there is jobs there. There is jobs there. What's wrong with having people where the jobs are? I don't understand that. Next slide, number 10. The variances that we have requested are related to the size of the units. And I know Mr. Law said earlier, I don't like the small units, and you've always expressed that. But over and over and over again, the city has approved what has now been called micro units. This is not the first, and this is probably not going to be the last one that's going to bring it. And I think that has been brought about because of the market. You can't rent these units out for thousands and thousands of dollars because you're going to be sitting there with a bunch of empty apartments. So in order to make that something that's marketable, they make them units smaller. In Texas, now they're making tiny houses. They're making little lots. And they're selling the houses for like $160,000, and NAR's doing them. Because they're smaller, but people can buy them and afford them. And that's what the market has created. So.
But though I wrote that same article I read that same article in the newspaper, and those houses are done for people that are homeless. So I don't know what is
Maybe
the
it's a different,
facility.
I didn't
how
read that
they
in the
say-
newspaper.
Okay,
didn't read it
because
in the
those tiny houses, the purpose for
I
that
know what you're talking
is
about, but that's
is
not,
to give.
yeah, that's
okay.
not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So the micro units, the parking. I said this to you before on another project that was recently approved, that the NBD has the same amount of parking for a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. It's the code, but I don't think it's right. You have approved, and I'll show you later on, other projects with one space for one bedroom, two spaces for two bedrooms. And that's what we have here. The density, the code does provide with incentives, but it does provide for 70 units per acre. The height, the code does provide for a maximum of 95 feet or 9 stories. That the setback issues, and we keep going back to the same thing. The setback issues are created because of the property that his group decided to dedicate for the right-of-ways, for the different roads, for the different things. If you look at slide number 11, out on the right side, you'll see a pretty large retention pond. That's something that they had to do, losing more land that they can build on. They offered this property to one of the neighbors who's a big warehouse developer. Said, no, I can't use it. It's too thin. I can't do what you want. What I want to do, I can't do it there. I'd also like to address an issue which was brought up in staff's recommendation, which is the city of Hialeah meets the need for affordable and workforce housing. Last night, we were here till 12:40 in the morning. And a great part of the discussion in front of the city council yesterday was trying to prevent people from living in dangerous RVs parked in the back of houses. How can you tell me that there's sufficient housing? My clients have had.
Excuse me. The mayor made a clarification. Most of those RVs are on properties that are not homestead properties, and the people that own the properties, they profit from the properties.
Oh,
Because you
absolutely.
can go, you
Yeah.
can buy an RV for $300 per month, and then you rent that RV for $1,000 per month. And the proof was that a lady that was here yesterday, and she lives in the house, but she rents those apartments. It's not that some cases are for people that they don't have a place to live, but this is not a Hialeah problem. We analyze and the study is available, it's
But
public records.
my point is.
And the point is that there is an affordability crisis in the whole country. It's not a Hialeah thing. So
I agree.
Hialeah, for the population that Hialeah has, meets the need for workforce and affordable housing. Maybe there is a need for affordable housing below 80% AMI. That's why my recommendation is, if the city council or if you decide that you want to approve this, well, at least affordable housing less than 80% AMI shall be provided.
My point
And this
was
is not
that
the
there's
case.
folks that are willing to pay to live in an RV because they have no other place to go. There's folks willing to live in sheds in the back of houses because they have nowhere to go. And they discovered while they were doing this RV ordinance that there's folks living in boats in people's backyards. So I would proffer to you that that does not mean that Hialeah meets or it doesn't need any more units, because that's the way it's been presented to you. Also, at yesterday's meeting, there was a mention by one of the residents that she had information that 75% of single-family residences in Hialeah have illegal efficiencies. The only reason that that exists is because there's a need. Also, part of the recommendations is do not approve it because there's not enough traffic. So you have to wait for the traffic to be created. You need to have the people going to different places before you can approve something.
No,
that would make their life better.
That was not, the recommendation was, the MBD was created for activity. You're changing the things because the MBD were created for activity nodes. So you want to come and use something that was not for this area and say that this is an activity node. This is not an activity
I didn't
node.
use the word.
So yeah, but the traffic is not that you need to have the traffic to apply the special use permit to expand the MBD. You should be in an activity node. And since you don't meet the requirements for an activity node, you are not an activity node. That's why your request to expand the MBD here is kind of outlandish, has nothing to do with the comprehensive plan or with the intent of the ordinance or other requirement. That's why you're asking for so many variances also. And if you read well, the maximum density in the MBD is 32 units per acre. And you can go up to 70 and you can increase also the height if you comply with the incentives.
said
And
that.
you're
I said that,
you're
that.
asking for variances
that.
for the incentives.
I said that.
Okay.
I would like to get through my presentation though.
Okay. Well,
I
you
don't
don't
think
say,
that's-
you change things and you don't say the
You
things
have
as
the
they are.
opportunity
So
to address it
since
when
I
finish.
know the code very well, I need to address and I need to educate the board members to what is the truth.
The proposal is an 8-story building with 83 one-bedroom units ranging from 651 square feet to 689. 107 two-bedroom units ranging in size from 909 square feet to 1,044. And 14 units that are 3 bedrooms of 1,094 square feet. Total unit count is 204. The amenities, which are on slides 9 through 12, are a pool with a large deck, a luxurious lobby, yoga spinning room, club room, cyber cafe, package room. There's 337 spaces for the 204 units. If you can put slide 13. Here's 2 ordinances. The one on the left side is a building that was approved, that was 9 stories high. And the one on the right side is parking that was allowed at 1 parking space for 1 bedroom and 2 parking spaces for 2, which is which is exactly what we're asking you for. So based on all of this, I again tell you to recommend approval because putting this residential area, this residential units in the middle of the warehouses is what's best for the people that are going to be living there because they're going to be able to find gainful employment and that will reduce traffic and create a better standard of living conditions for the residents. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, if I may, because some of the concerns that they brought up between who was the author of the report and everything. Basically, when I reviewed this application, I had to look within the framework that it was given to me. And one of the most important aspects was the request of the applicant was to change it to an NBD. So I took the ordinance that actually created the NBD and I started reading it, which is the framework that I had to look at under. One of the backgrounds of why the NBD was created, it was to, for the council, it was to adopt regulations and to the planning board to recommend is to adopt regulations, goals and objectives for an overlay zoning district to allow for an increased densities based on urban design incentives and pedestrian oriented development. In activity nodes, and what is an activity node? I'm going to read you what the definition of that activity node means. Activity node area describe an area located at the intersection of sections, lines, and major thoroughfares with high vehicular traffic or in a vicinity of public transit routes of corridors, which the definition of those doesn't apply to this location of the project. In addition to that, the purpose, which is under the regulations for the NBD, it is to provide for mixed residential, retail, office, and or service-oriented uses that promote and encourage pedestrian access and regular uses, and it goes on and forward. So then you look into what is a mixed-use building, and it describes a building containing a mix of residential, commercial, and or office uses. So that is what the context that you have to review this project. It is not whether we like it personally or not, is whether it fits or not. And that is the reason why there are certain variances. And then we'll provide you with what, if it fits or not within the project location.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
Yes, through the chair.
Please.
Caesar, you know, how I probably feel about this project already. I live in the area. I really can't get behind it, you know, with everything that I see here. I see that there's a need for some things in this area. I would see this better as maybe if you guys could change the project, maybe on a hotel. A very great hotel would be there in that location would be awesome. A nice Marriott, you know, something like that, some luxury type of hotel. But a project like this is going to cause us more traffic, more problems in the area, and we don't have the firefighters, we don't have the policemen, we don't have the things that we need in that area right now. The other project that you got behind, we had some board members that weren't in favor, but I was in favor of it because you brought something that was going to really help the city and the neighborhood. I think that maybe you guys should just revisit your project and see if there's an opportunity for maybe row houses. That'd be great there. Or maybe, like I said, or a hotel that would be for that area there with industrial. There's no hotels in Hialeah. We have 2 hotels. I think it's what, the Holiday Inn that's on 49th Street and the one on 68th Street. That's it. The other ones are little motels. Maybe we're thinking something like that. That'd be a great benefit for that area because they need a hotel there. And at least Hialeah needs a hotel with a nice little convention thing and everything in the bottom. I wish that there's something that I could, you know, see that would be positive for this area, but I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah, the hotel is a good idea because if you have all those industries that you have employees traveling from other parts of the country and coming there to conduct business, that it will be ideal to have their hotel.
That'd be a perfect location for a hotel. And what you're building right there, maybe you could just change it around, make it just hotel rooms.
And you can do that under BDH. You don't need to come for any variance.
Anyone else? This is a tough one. I think I'm with you in that a hotel would be. Now, you haven't been able to successfully sell this land because the proposed buyers think it's too narrow.
Yeah, I think he set forth three things. It was too narrow. The cost of having to build the road. And what was the third one? What? And the wetlands.
That's why the retention pond.
Right. They actually tried to do somewhere along the way, a plan with the same number of units that is going to be much lower. But because of the retention pond, it was impossible. So that's why they went up in the proposal.
Through the chair?
Yes, sir.
A question, does the hotel require the parking? Would they make it with this parking variance?
It goes by rooms, but it's a commercial use and is allowed in the BDH district.
Yeah.
And also it would be reasonable in a hotel to give a parking variance because sometimes when you travel, you don't have a car or you have a rental car and in one room is one person, or if it's 2 persons, they share one car. So it's different.
I'm still concerned about the traffic. But my biggest concern is the first responders.
Yeah.
Now, how many units is he proposing to add?
200.
204.
204.
And Claudia read, and also you have that taxonometric that shows all the multifamily units that are already there and the ones that are in the works. It's not that we're missing their multifamily units. There are many multifamily units. I think it's 2,000 and something.
I think it's a beautiful project. Looks good.
Yeah, but not in the correct place.
Right. I mean,
they've explored the hotel option, and there's been no interest from anybody because of the layout.
Right.
On the chair?
Please.
I would like to speak once he finishes.
Yes. Well, I'll recognize you in a minute.
Cesar, what was exactly that you said, the last word you mentioned right now? That was explore, but
There was no interest.
no interest.
There was no interest. They weren't able to do it.
Okay. Any more, yes,
Maybe if you speak to the city, maybe the city would encourage it and, because we don't have hotels here. Maybe that's something that we could look into because there literally is 2 hotels in Hialeah. And that'd be something that'd be beneficial to the city and beneficial to everybody. That'd be a great project. I would love to see that. That would excite me a lot, you know.
thank you, Mr. Rio. Any more comments or questions from the board? Anyone in the audience?
I will hate to speak with Ms. Deborah Lee Napser,
You
but
wanna
good
give her a minute?
evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank de la Paz, 1100 Southwest 104th Street, Miami, Florida. I am not registered as a lobbyist on this project.
You wanna give her a minute, take a breather until she comes back, or since you're so concerned with her listening to your
I
opinion?
mean, Ms. Hasburn is the one that recommended the
So
project.
Frank, you're speaking as a resident?
No, I'm speaking as a business owner. I was also a consultant at the beginning. I've been involved in this project since day one.
Okay.
So if you feel more comfortable for me to file a lobbyist form, I will. I was allegedly one of those many lobbyists that were contacted by the department, but I wasn't acting as a lobbyist. But I will point a couple of things that impact this property and that I was involved, first-hand knowledge. When I first got involved with this project, the first thing that I did went and talked to Mr. Armando Vidal, because the concern of the road that was imposed on the south side of the property between the conservation area and what was going to be left of the property. The conservation area is crazy to have a road going east-west north of a conservation area where the runoff is going to go into the conservation area. And to clarify this conservation area to you all, it looks very nice, but it cannot be used as a park. It cannot be used as a hiking trail. It cannot be used as a bird watching station. You cannot go in there. It's just plain wetlands sitting there, and you can look at it nicely from far away. If not, we will have incorporated some of those acreage that was given away to the conservation area into the project. And when I went to see Mr. Vidal, I said, look, this road between the conservation doesn't make sense. Let's make it on the north. But it was too late because the property owners to the east already had committed to their plans and they wanted the traffic flow. And it was just a dysfunctional communication between departments. We were in the middle of the pandemic. If not, things would have turned out differently. A mention was said about the nodes. So I went around and say, well, we are so close to a node that we are entitled to this. No, you're not. If we send a surveyor out there, maybe we are less than 500 feet from the node on 97 on the north end. That's also a hardship that we got thrown at us. Whichever way we went to try to develop this into something that makes sense, we didn't get it. To the west, we have the famous reverse osmosis plant. That's the neighbors to the west, the water plant. And to the north, we don't know what's going to happen, but I tell you, it's going to be more impact when the county land gets developed into multifamilies with no say-so from Hialeah that you all can imagine. I do believe there is a need for this rental project. I do know there's a lot of units being built out there, and some of you live out there. And if you're renting for the individual, because nobody has ever been able to tell me how many apartment buildings are there. They are condominiums, townhouses, private communities with divided ownership. Rentals for people that want to work in the area. We're going to be getting a bus stop in front of our property. Hialeah Transit is working on a bus route extension on 40th Avenue. And the reason it hasn't happened because the rest of the project have yet to build their sidewalk. The piece of sidewalk that was built on 97 and 108, it took me almost a year to get a permit to get the piece of sidewalk from the county where the intersection is. The intersection was Hialeah. We got it built. We put the cross sign to go across the street from 97, and it took us over a year. And you cannot imagine how much aggravation to get the rest of the sidewalk built on the hard corner that the project that you're mentioning, just east of the autistic school. Nevertheless, I do believe on this project, I do believe it's needed. And if you go back to over 45 years that Mr. Osman and myself have been coming in front of this body, you are not going to be able to find a project that you can criticize after we have finished it. And I can point out many redevelopments and development done in those last 45 years that you're going to have plenty of things to say about it. But it is what it is. Thank you much.
Thank you. Caesar, is there any way possible that between you and your client, a compromise can come up with lowering the amount of apartments, trying to some kind of compromise?
Mr. Perez, may I speak to that?
Yes, sir.
The answer is unfortunately no. But there's sound reasoning behind that. And that's because, as Mr. Mestre brought out, we first tried to have, and we have an iteration of that, 5 stories only. It came out to the same number of units, but it was spread out more over the property. But it wouldn't be allowed when we showed it to the South Florida Water Management District in Durham, because they said, oh, you have to provide for water retention on your site, because, not because of our site, because all around you do not drain on their property because it's filled with construction debris. And because you are lower than they are, you are required to have a retention pond. Fine. So we had to go back, redraw, and then that's when the building had to go up in order to accommodate approximately the same number of units. We would love to have had the 5-story because, it's nicer, look nicer. It's, the construction costs are less. Obviously, the higher you go, the more it costs. So that was something we would try not to do, but unfortunately we couldn't do it. Now, then you say, well, you can build less units. True, we could. What happens? Why? First of all, there's the need. The need is there. Tremendous need. In case Mr. Messer didn't mention it, but yeah, the articles are replete. In fact, the HUD secretary said, this area is the epicenter of the housing crisis. Okay? So you can say all you want that there's not a need, but it's documented. There's a tremendous need. All right. So then you say, well, we don't want this in a traffic area that doesn't have much traffic. That's what she says. Not much traffic. In other words, not a traffic node. Well, now, which is it? Do you want something where there's not much traffic so that the new development would not negatively impact traffic? Or do you want a new development in an area that's already traffically congested? Come on, it's common sense. This area, look at our traffic study. There's plenty of room for more traffic in this area. And you went and visited there recently, did you not? Was there much traffic there? No. There's plenty of room.
I
The traffic
beg to
study
differ,
proves
sir.
it.
I live in that area. I don't know what you're saying.
Uh,
That's a horrible.
Northwest 104th Avenue,
that
excuse me,
area-
102nd Avenue, West 40th
All
Avenue.
that annexed area, the traffic is ridiculous. I get out there every morning.
I
and
understand.
and sometimes it takes me over close to an hour to get from where I am.
Do
to
you
49th Street.
use the bridge?
I use everything that whatever I have accessible. I use the
Because-
bridge, I use everything, and there's still traffic no matter what.
As Deborah had mentioned,
You know, saying that
There's
no
gonna be a-
traffic is
there's
really-
gonna be a
it's really
turnpike.
Contrary to the reality of the whole thing. There is a lot of traffic there.
not specifically on this placement. And the traffic availability is going to improve because the turnpike exit is under construction. What do you think is going to happen? It's already in the plans. The only reason that's being constructed is because they already have the plans for Northwest 170th Street to be a 6-lane thoroughfare. So when that all comes together, it's going to improve the traffic circulation. And the bridge, when people get used to using the bridge, it's going to be a great thing. People weren't used to using it because the only way you could get in and out of there before was 138th Street. Well, that's not the case anymore. So it's a balancing act. Now, that's why I gave you the facts about what we did and why we did what we did in the history of this particular property. It is virtually unique. And so what are we saying? The city asked us, we need an east-west corridor. There wasn't one. We need one. And we have to put it here. So we need you to give the dedication. Will you pay for the street? Because when we give you the dedication, that's going to then make a street there that wasn't there when we bought the property. And then you're going to tell us, well, in order to develop your property, you have to build the street. Well, when we bought the property, the street wasn't there. We didn't have to build any street. We had access on West 40th Avenue, plenty of access for industrial. But now then, because of the dedication, what do we end up with? A non-industrial feasible property. All right, so now we go then to why then residential? 2 reasons. Number one, there's a tremendous need for residential. That's documented. Number 2, because industrial don't work. It will not go here. Like I said, we have aggressively marketed this property. No takers. They're all, oh, this is beautiful. Yes, we like it. And then they get in, they dig into it and say, doesn't work. It doesn't work for industrial. If you can figure something else out, okay, because it's too narrow. Why is it too narrow? We gave the city the dedication to create the corridor, the east-west corridor, that then what? What did that do? That allowed all of that area there to be built. And so what am I saying? That it was because of us that all of that was allowed? Yes, that's what I'm saying. What about West 40th Avenue? I guess we get no credit for the fact that we helped the city get a grant for that and we gave the dedication. Why not? We were good citizens. We helped. So take all these things into consideration. There is the need. It's the right location. That's what the Live Local Act came for people to now understand and know. They said, what? Use up areas that are not developed in your industrial section. Use them for residential. Why? Because it's needed. That's our situation.
Local act and build according to the Live Local Act, and that's it. You will be complying with that. So you're saying one thing and then you want to use
No,
another thing.
I'm
You
telling you
cannot-
about the rationale of it,
Okay, okay.
the
Well,
intent of it.
but the rationale
And-
was
and
to
one last
provide
thing.
affordable housing.
One
and
last
You're
thing.
not providing that.
Very last, unless you have questions. Density. We are less than the permitted 32 units to the acre. That's why you don't see a variance for density. Because what we're proposing is less than the allowed 32 units per acre. Do you think we would not give more parking if we could? Well, of course we would. We would love to have more parking. We have these constraints which were imposed upon us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any comments? or
the chair?
questions? You had something.
They keep saying that there's a need for apartments in Hialeah. I see these buildings that still have for rent section of them. People who are living in boats, people who are living in trailer parks aren't gonna rent your apartment. They don't have the money for that. They're living in a boat, they're living in a shack, in a shed behind the hook, because that's what they can afford. The people that are renting these sheds and their boats or whatever, or these mobile homes, these are predators that are taking advantage of poor people. What we need here is low income housing. If you're really gonna do something, you like low income housing for people that, for Section 8 housing, something like that. I'm not in favor of Section 8 housing. A lot of people grew up in it and whatever, and it is what it is. I'm not in favor for that, low income housing. I'd rather see a home that is going to, people are gonna live in a home, that they're gonna lay down roots here and everything. You're building a monstrosity in this area that doesn't fit in the area. I hate to say this, but this just looks like a money grab for me, because you're trying to make as much out of that property as you possibly can. I have to motion, and I will, that I motion to deny on this already. I can't, I don't see any reason to go any longer. We've heard the suggestion of Deborah, and it just doesn't work. I have the utmost respect for you, sir, and you know I do, Cesar, and if there's anybody that I have respect for here, is you. And I really wish that I could see something more, but I just can't. I just can't. I could see it as a hotel with the parking variance and something else. But the traffic that's gonna cause in that area and the problem that it's gonna cause in that area, the congestion and everything is bad enough as it is. I just can't.
Okay.
I apologize.
Thank you, John. Before we get a second on this. Do we have anyone on Zoom that, okay, so. Public comments are still open. Is there anyone else? There's no one else on Zoom, okay? That closes the part of the public hearing. We do have a motion on the floor. To deny. It's a pleasure of the board.
Second.
So we have a motion from Mr. Ulloa, second from Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Ramon?
No.
Mr. Perez?
Can you come back to me, please?
Yes. Mr. Santi Esteban?
No.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa?
Wait, no is.
Wait.
Yes, it's to
All this
deny.
is confused.
Wait.
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 Okay.
Yes is to deny?
Yes.
We have a motion to deny.
Sorry, retract it's yes to deny. Sorry.
Okay, so,
Right.
it's, okay, before you go on,
Hold on.
motion is to deny.
To deny,
To deny will say yes.
Motion to deny, second.
Okay.
Lázaro said no. You said yes. Right?
So, Mr. Iglesias, you have voted to deny this item.
no.
Mm.
I am sorry, that's why I brought it up. I'm
Okay.
confused on the way everything
Sure.
went around.
So the motion right now is a motion to deny the item. If your vote is yes, you are voting to deny the item. If your vote is no, you are voting to not deny the item.
Can I,
Yes, sir.
no,
Okay, so your vote is
Yeah,
to
I was-
not deny.
Correct. I was all confused. So
Mr.
we have-
Gamon, is your vote not to deny?
Correct.
Okay,
Okay, so we have not to deny, not to deny, deny. Deny, okay.
Just missing you.
Me? I would say no. Aye.
It's tie.
is there another motion?
And we get a motion.
Motion
Motion to approve, motion to postpone, motion to.
Yeah, he just mentioned.
So now a motion to approve is on the floor.
Can we get a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Ramon, second by Mr. Iglesias. Sergi Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Santi Esteban,
No.
Mr. Arioa,
No.
Mrs. Enrique,
No.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon.
Motion failed.
Yes.
Motion failed.
Still tied.
Caesar, is there anything you'd like to do at this point with the application? Would you like to withdraw? We have to have action. So the next option would be for this board to either table to a date certain or postpone, unless you'd like to withdraw your application.
We'd like to table to the next meeting. We'd like the benefit of 7 members.
Okay. All right, that's, so then, yes, Frank.
Sorry, plenty of time, items have continued to want to city council without this guy, when we have time. Now,
I'm sorry?
plenty of time, we have items continuing to the city council without recommendation from this type of event. It's not illegality, but plenty of time. we have had.
I disagree. That's not what the code calls for. The code calls for a recommendation go from the planning and zoning board to the council. So I disagree with your reading of the code.
I mean, it's not what has happened in the
Oh.
past.
That would not be my advice as the attorney on this board.
Caesar is.
So we would request the table to the next meeting,
So the, what is the next?
20.
January 24th.
24th.
I need a motion in a second.
Motion to table for January 23rd.
Second that motion.
Okay, so a motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Arioa.
No.
Mr. Santi Esteban. Mrs.
No,
Enrique,
sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon.
Yes.
Item has been tabled until January 24th.
Thank you.
Miscellaneous item not requiring advertising. Item number 10, old business?
Any old business?
No business. Item number 11, new business.
Any new business? Yeah, I'd like to say something that is about what we voted on. This makes absolutely no sense to me. I understand everybody has their own opinion, but like, after listening to the recommendations, voting to approve a project like this. Maybe you guys don't live in the area, but it's absurd. And I'm really disappointed in the way this vote went. And it's not the first time, and it continues to happen. I guess there's another agenda on the board. But it's very disheartening. I come here thinking that we're doing the best for the city, and it was said. Vote what's best for the constituents of the city, what's best for the city, constituents of the city. That vote, yes, is not what's going to the city.
What we feel is best for the city, and my feeling might not be the same as yours.
Obviousness of it all. Because if there'd be any reason that it would be clear that this is a benefit for us, I don't see it. Maybe I don't see something. If you could tell me what you see beneficial to this.
What I see beneficial is, okay, I do understand the circumstances where the traffic, now granted, when I visited there, it was an off-peak hours on a weekend. The traffic wasn't that terrible
compared to anywhere in Hialeah. Hear me out, please. Hear me out.
Go a weekday in
That's
the morning.
that-
Monstrosity, that's it.
That's what I'm getting at. When I went there, my experience was not that negative as far as traffic is concerned. Now, I did see some congestion. I could feel what's going on, but in all honesty, there wasn't that much congestion as, as it should have been. My biggest concern, John, is services, community
You don't
services.
have enough services for two.
Exactly, and that's,
But you still voted yes.
I voted yes to table so that,
You voted yes, you voted yes to go. And then another thing, when we read the recommendation, we don't go lightly, me or Clyde, we don't go lightly. And there was a recommendation, you're going to approve it, where at least do what is best for the city.
Okay.
If the problem is housing, well, provide affordable housing. They can,
Exactly.
he explained, he had 14 properties. Do you think he sold those properties for nothing? He's a millionaire for those properties that he sold. And well, this is the last piece. This is the last piece. You have to put everything in the equation. Everyone there dedicated areas he had to dedicate for, but he made a lot of profit. And in many of the instances, he didn't complete what he was supposed to. He's not the one that builds. He's a speculator. He has shown this time and time. You have seen him here for many years. You respect him.
Right.
He's very nice when he comes here, but the reality is not like that. So
mean,
if you're going to approve the project, at least you should read the report that we give to you on Friday and read the recommendations. Okay, I want to approve it. I think it's okay.
I'd read it.
But read the recommendations, provide the parking that is needed. If they don't park there, they will park in the middle of the street. That will interrupt what we always wanted to have there,
What got me
like
to
the
vote,
flow of traffic.
what got me to vote was like they were explaining that area around there, there's nothing around, it's industrial. So I believe, and I seen it in many areas, that people will either walk, it's so close and convenience to work around it. And that's
Yeah, but people don't only work. People have kids that go to school, have to go grocery shopping. You are telling me that they are going to go walking to Publix like 1 mile down and don't use the car? People do many other things that require a car. It's not only going to work.
There's thousands of apartments in that area already that they're building. We just approved 2 of them.
Well, that drawing that we made was specifically for you to know that there are 2,295 apartments there.
well, John, with all due respect, you're entitled to your opinion, and that's,
This makes no sense. I don't feel
Okay.
like you guys took Deborah's recommendations into account. And this is just, I feel like I'm in a freaking twilight zone because this makes no sense.
You have the recommendation with you. My advice is you have 2 weeks, read it over, and you.
Did you
take
read-
into consideration the recommendations. If you're going to approve, at least ask for something. You're giving everything and that you're not asking for something. Provide the parking that is needed or build less units. Yes, you're going to make less money. Yes, you're going to make less money, but you're not going to ruin that whole area with parking on the street, where then the trucks cannot circulate. Plus,
I'm going to tell you one thing, and this is me personally. There is absolutely no question, and I hate to disagree with you, John. There's absolutely no question.
Everybody always disagrees.
Well, no, but
I'm used to it
okay.
already.
There is absolutely a housing deficit in the city.
If we keep saying
no,
there is.
in the city, no, in the country, in the whole country.
Okay, so
So we're gonna.
there is, no. So there is a housing deficit. Okay, can they work with us also? That's important. Can we work with the developers? Can the developers work with us to try and satisfy the inventory of available
rental units, homes, what have you.
And
And
affordable housing, this guy's gonna get the most out of.
He says we asked for affordable housing and he doesn't want, he wants to provide
He
market
laughed,
rate.
and Deborah
It's
said
not,
80% thing. He laughed, Deborah said the 80%.
okay,
This is a money grab, he's making as much, he's thinking as much as he can in that little parcel of land to make as much money as possible. Which is everybody's American dream, everybody wants to make as much money as possible of whatever you can.
And you heard
But
he,
we're paying
he
for
had
it. We are
14
gonna-
properties.
The residents of Hialeah, we're paying for it. Come on, guys, let's not cut our city short, and we keep doing it, Yeah, I don't think, I don't even want to be a part of the board sometimes, the way things are done here, and maybe it's the best thing that it's just not be part of the board.
Okay.
Because it's discouraging to see the way that this board votes. It really is, I'm not trying to.
Well, with everybody,
I understand your opinion,
hold on, because you cannot impose on nobody and you have to be respectful. Okay, no, okay, I hear you. Listen, I heard your conversation. Now you're gonna listen to me. Okay, I respect, okay. Well, if you're being disrespectful in front of the board, then you gotta listen to me. Okay, okay. Whichever way you want to put it, we are, okay,
But I don't have.
we are in America and you cannot tell me how to vote or not to vote. Okay, so with all your respect, whenever you're gonna speak, because we all belong to this board, you should be careful what you say. Okay, be careful what you say, because I take it as an offense that you speak yourself and express yourself that way. I don't think you should. We all here are a family and we all do this because we want to serve for the city, right? The best for the city. But you cannot tell me, how do I vote? Or how we all express ourselves here. I think you should be careful on that. This is not the first time. You have done it with the citizens. You do it with everybody. So please be careful the way you express yourself. And I will really appreciate that. And hopefully everybody here will take in consideration what I'm saying, because I don't think you are in a position to go ahead and express yourself that way. Be respectful and respect everybody here, because we all here for the city. Not me for you, you for me. We're here for the city and to do the best for the city. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry about the inconvenience, but that's the way I feel.
I agree with you in a certain way, but I disagree in another way. He started the conversation saying, please explain me why you think this is okay. And none of you say yes, but you didn't explain. Now you say, let's then provide affordable housing, but you didn't say that. You didn't express that. If you're going to say yes, and you're not going to ask for something, at least I'm going to say yes, because I think that there is a need and I don't care about the parking deficit. And you said it now, I would say yes, but I would like them to contribute with something. Well, this is the forum to do it. And you had the recommendation there. So please, we do the recommendations for you to read them. So read them. There we said no, but we didn't say no. We said no. If you want to approve it, please look at what we told you, because we made an analysis. Ask them to comply with the parking. It doesn't fit there. Yes, they can build a parking garage and the parking will fit there. They don't build it because they are cheap. They only want to profit and they don't want to give everything.
Did I not ask just before we close? Did I not ask, is there any concessions that can be made?
Well,
Okay,
he said no, and then you voted yes, even without the concessions. Yeah.
so
It doesn't matter, it's gonna, but it gets sad, because. I don't know, I just think that we should see a little bit more of the city patterns, putting on the paper and really understand it, and.
look, it's,
You could say that you're reason that it's gonna help the city. I would like to see how and in which way it's gonna help the city.
look, it's not, it's nothing against.
If you could tell me in how it's gonna help the city, I would love to know, because I don't see it.
Okay.
Because the people who are, like I said, the people who are renting a boat to live in or a shed to live in, still not gonna be able to afford that guy's full price apartment units. They're not. They're gonna continue living in a shed and they're gonna continue living in a boat. And the people that are renting the boats in the sheds are gonna continue renting the boats in the sheds because they're taking advantage of the people that can't
Okay,
afford.
John, let me ask you this, and then we're gonna close. And no disrespect to Deborah, you know that I appreciate, I respect you highly. I don't necessarily agree with all your recommendations, okay? But for the most part, we follow it. Have you taken the time, simple little time, to either visit the council meetings or watch them on Zoom
Several times.
or read or read up
Several times.
okay. How many times have we, this board, gone against her recommendation of denial for projects of multifamily homes,
Several times.
okay. Okay, we have overridden her recommendation and we have approved it. How many times has it gone to the council and the council, they just say, done, approved. Without, they look at the basics.
They also.
They look at
oppose
the
same
basics
way
and
that
they
you guys
say-
want, But maybe if they receive a recommend, because we're giving a recommendation. We're not voting. If we give them that recommendation of denial, maybe that will sway them in some shape or form. But we're automatically telling them yes. So they're already getting a recommendation of yes from us. So they may be considering our votes. That's why it's happening.
All right,
What happened with the fruteria guy? We said yeah, and the council said no.
Yeah.
So it's up to them. no
It's
matter
up to
what.
them.
At the
So
end of
then,
the day,
then what we're doing here is pointless.
I said no.
no, it's not pointless.
It's
At the end of the day, it's the same.
You know
same
what, I
concept.
could go, this is gonna go around the
Yeah,
circle.
it is, it is.
Disrespect anybody, Mr. Iglesias, if you feel I've disrespected you, that was my last
Didn't
thing
we
to
say-
do was disrespect you, okay? But I am frustrated, because I think, I see things black and white. And when I see that Deborah's saying to everybody, this is not good for the city, and I go, okay, well, Deborah knows more than me because she went to school for the study this and everything else. This is not gonna be good for the city. I'm going to vote no against this project. And then I turn around and we finish voting, and everybody says yes. I'm like, then everything that Deborah said went out the window, doesn't matter, and the hell with whatever Deborah said. That's how I feel. And if you can tell me something different from that, then okay, let me know.
That's how you
Because
feel?
It's
Okay.
not how I feel, it's what I
That's how
see.
you feel?
Deborah
And that's
said-
how, okay,
No,
that's how
and then
you,
everybody
that's
goes,
how
"Ah,
we
you don't
feel.
know, Deborah says, let's vote yes on this. That's
And
what I
and
feel.
it's not only Deborah, because what I did, I deferred this to Claudia, so she would start clean without any knowledge on everything. And she came to the same conclusion, and all the rationale is there.
No,
They don't-
no reflection on
they
you,
are-
by the way.
They are coming with a rezoning that does not belong to this area, that was not conceived for this area. And they want to get all the advantages without giving the incentives that are required for this ordinance. And they are asking for a variance for that. So if you think that residential is okay there, well, okay, maybe I respect your opinion, but at least by what are you going? Are you going by Senate Bill 102? Okay, provide affordable housing, be consistent with the height that is there. You're going to go by MBD, comply with the parking. All of the
give
other
him- give him-
property,
give him
all the other
conditions.
properties that you saw, they are building under what is allowed in the density. They are all providing the whole parking. So that is reasonable to approve that. But here they are asking for everything. You're not getting anything. Why are you voting yet? You think that residential is okay there? You say, okay, I will vote yes for residential. I think this is a good thing, but I don't think that the parking is good. And I don't think that you're not providing affordable housing. So there can be a compromise. So you don't need to strictly say yes or no. You can impose the conditions, and the conditions, we wrote them there for you. So you know, if you were going to say both, yes, because you think that this in the middle of nowhere is okay, well, okay, at least ask for the things that are beneficial for the city, because you know that people won't have one car in one bedroom. They will have multiple cars, and then you will have all the cars there, the swale area is gone, the rest that we all experience and we have here in the city, we shouldn't repeat the mistake.
For the record, I want to address something that Frank said because it's important to put it on the record. Your code, chapter 98-132 under procedure says that variances, conditional use permits, and special use permits may be granted by the city council upon recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board. So Frank was wrong, and I wanted to put that on record to show that this board is important in the fact that it cannot go to the city council for approval or denial without a recommendation from this board. So it would have been inappropriate to send it to the city council without a recommendation of either approval or denial.
I don't think in the time that I've been here, an item has gone to the council stagnant.
Alex, this is a general question. Had we motioned to deny tabling, what would have happened next?
Sorry?
If we would have motioned to deny, if the motion went through that we all denied a table, what happens next?
We would have been here until somebody gave in
Oh. Okay. So
Okay,
I don't feel guilty
so-
anymore.
or until he withdrew his
All
item.
I can tell you at this point,
I don't feel bad about it anymore.
okay, all I can tell you at this point, guys, ladies and gentlemen, all I can tell you at this point is there is yet one more opportunity come next meeting. Okay,
Consult it with your pillow. Read the report 100 times.
yeah,
Read the
Okay.
report 100.
Read-
If you have questions, reach to us. You can reach
Right.
to us. We can explain you why we say one thing, why we say another thing. We can explain you the MBD. We can explain you the annexation area. I try to do a brief, but come and ask. It's free.
if
It's
for whatever
exactly-
reason,
Yes, exactly what I want to mirror, because some of the statements also, they're not 100% accurate. For example, the density, they went to request above the 32 dwelling units per acre. They went above that. They're requesting 40 units per acre. For example, to also the statement that people will live there, understood that we are going through the master plan, the 2050. And one of the information that the consultants have gathered, that 84% of the residents of Hialeah, we have to leave Hialeah to work. So that means in a 204 unit, basically only 33 or 30 units, they will work in that area. Or in Hialeah, not even in that area, in Hialeah. So we will give you all the information to fact check what they're providing you. And then you will make your decision, but at least we will provide you with the tools that you need to arrive to the conclusion that you need to make.
And also many of those warehouses are automated. I heard from the developer from Flagler that in the Boeing one, they have 2 or 3 people working there because it's, first of all, it's big pieces. So you maybe have 2 or 3 pieces and you don't have that much people working there. The offices are somewhere else. So it's not that everyone that lives in that building will get a job in that area. Many are specialized shops. It's not like in the past that you have the sewing machines and everyone will go there and get a job. This is a different type of industry.
well, that, all that being said, take this home with you. We gave the developer another opportunity. We gave ourselves another opportunity. They need to rethink their proposal.
They won't rethink their.
Well,
proposal.
listen. Then what's gonna happen when they come back next time?
They're
They-
hoping that Mr. Jimenez votes yes with you guys. That's
Exactly.
exactly what's
Okay,
going on.
well-
As soon as that's gonna happen, Mr. Jimenez is gonna vote with you.
Well, Between now and
That's
then,
exactly what's
between now and then, if we consult with our pillows, if we, I know I read the report. I know I visited the area and I have my feelings, I have my visions as to what I need to do, what I would like to see done, okay? If we all read the recommendations and take it to heart, okay? There's a very strong possibility that votes will be different come next week.
And come and see us. We will show that there are already 2,300 units there. So if you want to fill those warehouses there with employees, you have there the numbers already.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
I recommend everybody to drive by
During
on a
the
busy
week-
day.
During
On a
peak
busy
hours.
day.
On a busy day, not weekend, because I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna hate me. You're gonna hate me. The traffic there is out of hand.
When I have to go to see something, I make sure it's not school time, it's not in the morning, because if not, it's impossible. I will be all day just going there and coming back.
Okay.
And remember, this can't happen when there's 7 people. So Ms. Enriquez, to answer your question, this is only happening because we're at 6.
Yeah.
So if
That's why-
everybody could be here, it wouldn't happen.
That's why the board and the council is purposely an odd number. So that there can't be a tie like this. Anything else?
No, we want
Okay.
to sleep.
Meeting adjourned.